The Tale of Naruto Namikaze. Chapter 1. It was a beautiful day in Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. The sun, still low in the sky, crept its warm, yellow light onto the city, creeping the light into the windows of the city. The earliest sounds of life in the city picked up as various shops unlocked their doors and flipped their signs from closed to open. Slowly people began to trickle down the street and the chatter of conversation filled Konoha's air. Ninja patrols leaving early for missions began leaving the city off on various important tasks. In the homes, parents began to wake up their children, announcing that it was time for school. The warm smell of breakfasts filled the many houses and apartments. As the light slowly flooded into one specific apartment, a young blonde boy mumbled and turned over, nestling just a little deeper into his worn blankets, refusing to let the dream in his head escape. This was a particularly good dream where he, the Hokage, sat on a throne using Sasuke's team as a footrest while Sakura-chan fed him ramen. Unfortunately, his alarm wasn't having any of that. 3 harsh beeps woke the startled boy, who quickly shot up and rolled swiftly out of bed. Then, groggily realizing he wasn't under attack, he turned off the clock. Yawning, Naruto stretched out and looked at the time on the clock. "There's something important I'm missing," he thought as he relaxed. It was only 7 a.m. Why had he woken up so early? Then it hit him. Today's the graduation exam to become a ninja. He shot into the bathroom, jumping into the shower, which was frigid. The cold water always forced a yelp from him, the shock of the cold suddenly contacting his skin. He adapted fairly quickly to the cold. He'd never had any hot water to his room, probably a result of how much his cranky landlady hated him. Finishing up his shower, Naruto threw on a pair of green boxers with ramen bowls on them, a gift from the Hokage 1 year on his birthday, followed by one of his customary orange and blue jumpsuits that he'd managed to obtain from the trash of nearby clothing store, since he couldn't afford any of the clothes at most stores. From a small rickety table beside his bed, he grabbed his kunai holster and tied it to his right thigh. He grabbed his shuriken pouch and attached it over his left back pocket. He moved quickly to his kitchen and grabbed a cup of instant ramen from a cabinet and filled it with water and tossed it into a battered microwave that had come with the apartment. As soon as the microwave beeped indicating that the ramen was finished, Naruto grabbed a pair of disposable chopsticks and rushed off towards the Ninja Academy. Naruto arrived at the Ninja Academy and walked into his usual classroom. He glanced quickly around the room in search of a seat and grimaced as he realized that the only seats open were the 2 beside the genius of the class, Sasuke Uchiha. Sighing, he sat down in the seat furthest from Sasuke. "Team," Naruto greeted, casually hoping to get some form of response and maybe rile up his rival. "HN. I'm gonna steal that Rookie of the Year spot from you, team." Another attempt to rile up the stoic boy. "HN. Naruto grit his teeth angrily and prepared to yell at the brooding boy when suddenly he noticed his crush, Sakura Haruno, walk into the room. She was a beautiful pinkette who tied her hair back by a red ribbon that matched her red Chinese-style dress. She wore black skin-tight pants and blue sandals. Unfortunately, she idolized Sasuke just like every other girl in the class. As she moved close to him, Naruto decided that it wasn't worth his time to focus on Sasuke and turned 100% of his attention to Sakura. "Hey Sakura-chan, I was wondering if after class you dash." Before he could finish his sentence, however, Sakura's fist had smashed into his face, knocking him back against the seat. "Shut up, Naruto baka. I don't want to hear your stupid, annoying voice. Move. I want to sit beside Sasuke-kun." She shoved past him and sat beside her crush. "Hi Sasuke-kun, how are you today? I was wondering, do you want to go on a date sometime?" she asked, staring coyly at her crush. Naruto sighed as he picked himself up, listening to Sasuke simply "HN" in response to Sasuke. He'd gotten used to Sakura rejecting him and of course hitting him immediately after. Some of her worst rejections even left him wondering what he saw in her. As he shifted back into his seat, he sat up, rubbing his hurting face, and looked on as their sensei, Irika, entered the room with his assistant, Mizuki. "All right everyone, quiet down. It's time for the test. Today, you'll be required to enter as your name is called and perform the Bunshin no Jutsu, clone jutsu. Irika called out. And as soon as those words left Irika's mouth, Naruto felt all his confidence crumble. He could do any other jutsu required, but for some reason the Bunshin no Jutsu was impossible for him. His confidence only got lower and lower as student after student left the exam room proudly wearing their headbands signifying their new induction as genin, as ninja. No, I can do this, Naruto thought. I can pass this test. Uzumaki Naruto, came Irika's voice. Naruto masked his apprehension with a big grin and walked into the room where Irika and Mizuki. Okay, Naruto, whenever you're ready, go ahead. Good luck, Irika said, secretly cheering his disciple on, especially considering how similar Naruto was to how Irika had been in the past. Naruto took a deep breath and channeled chakra before performing the appropriate hand seals for the jutsu. Bunshin no Jutsu, he called out. A large puff of smoke surrounded Naruto, and as it cleared it revealed there was only a single dead-looking clone on the ground. Irika's face first took on a look of sheer shock and then slowly turned red. You fail, he yelled out. Naruto's eyes widened and his head dropped. I worked so hard. I thought I could pass this time. Irika, I think we can pass him this time. I mean, it is his third time taking the test and he did reproduce a clone, Mizuki said, turning to his colleague, surprising both Irika and Naruto. No, Irika said, shaking his head. Everyone else in the class made at least 3 clones which were fully functional. Naruto made 1 clone and it wasn't even a proper one. He turned to Naruto. Sorry, Naruto. I can't pass you. Naruto frowned, holding back tears, and slowly left to go sit outside on the swing he'd always sat on after the last 2 times he failed. As he sat outside, Naruto watched as the many genin from his class met with their parents who praised their children. This was probably the worst part of failing, the reminder that he was an orphan, and that no matter what in the end his parents weren't going to be proud. Thank God that child didn't pass. Naruto turned his head towards 2 women who were glancing in his direction and tuned in a little, hiding how much the words hurt him. I know. Can you imagine what would happen if he became a ninja? I mean, after all, he's SSE. You know we aren't allowed to talk about that. Naruto frowned as he heard this conversation. He was about to get up and yell at the women when he noticed Mizuki walk up to him. Sensei? Hey Naruto, come with me for a bit. I want to talk to you. Irika didn't want to fail you, you know? Mizuki said, smiling a bit at Naruto as they sat on top of the roof of the academy. He just wants to see you succeed and make sure that you're ready for the pressures of being a ninja. I know, Naruto sighed sadly. I just really thought I could do it this time. Mizuki hid a sinister grin and then smiled at the young academy student. Well, I suppose I can tell you about the secret test then. Naruto smiled to himself as he snuck past the guards into the Hokage's office. It felt a little too easy for him, but who was he to complain about such an easy test? It was probably his awesome skills anyway. I wonder where the scroll is, Naruto mused to himself. He'd been in the office plenty of times before visiting his Jisan. He began looking at the bookshelves, searching for the scroll he wanted. He found a big one that seemed like what he wanted. He strapped the scroll to his back with some ninja wire and made his way to the door. As he approached the door opened and in stepped the 3rd Hokage. Naruto, Sarutobi exclaimed, his eyes widening slightly. What on earth are you doing here at this hour? Naruto panicked quickly and threw his hands together into a fast hand seal and exclaimed, Oiroke no Jutsu, Sexy no Jutsu. Naruto snickered to himself as he sat in the forest and opened the scroll he had. Man, I kicked Jisan's but just now. He might as well just make me the Hokage. He looked down at the scroll and looked at the first jutsu in the scroll, intent on learning whatever jutsu it offered. Instantly, he groaned. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. The one type of jutsu I struggle with. Whatever, let's do this. The description in the scroll offered a quick synopsis of the jutsu. It seemed to Naruto that allowed the user to make solid clones which would dispel if hit hard. However, there was also a warning about the chakra needed and something called memory feedback which Naruto didn't understand. With that, Naruto set to learning his new jutsu. An hour passed and Naruto found himself surrounded by 10 clones of himself. Slowly he reached out and poked one which responded by poking him back. Naruto blinked and then let a wide grin grace his face. Yatta! We did it! The clones and the original cheered. He quickly dispelled his clones. He got ready to turn and head back to Konoha when he heard a very familiar voice. Naruto! There you are! Iruka exclaimed as he walked up to his student. Iruka-sensei, I found you! Ha! Naruto exclaimed. Baka! I found you! Iruka yelled as he punched Naruto on top of his head. Heh! I guess you did! Naruto said excitedly. I only had time to learn one jutsu. He's been training, and really hard too, Iruka thought. Meanwhile, Naruto was hopping back and forth on the balls of his feet. Hey! So, if I can do this one jutsu I managed to learn, it means I pass, right, sensei? That's what Mizuki-sensei told me. Iruka's eyes widened as he realized what happened, and as the familiar whizzing of kunai shooting his way. He shoved Naruto out of the way even as his arms and legs were impaled by kunai and shuriken. Mizuki, Iruka growled, looking up into a tree. Haha, Iruka, you got here fast. You really do know the brat well. Mizuki laughed from his place on the branch. I'll deal with you later. He turned his attention to Naruto. Give the scroll to me, Naruto. Naruto stared back and forth between his two sensei. What's going on? Mizuki-sensei? Naruto, do not give him that scroll, Iruka yelled. Mizuki used you to get his hands on the scroll. He's a liar and a traitor. Mizuki let out a cruel laugh before leaning forward. I'll tell you who's really lying here, Naruto. Iruka's eyes widened. No, Mizuki, don't. Mizuki didn't so much as turn to acknowledge him. After all, the village has been lying to you for 12 years. Didn't you wonder why the village treats you the way they do? Why they ignore you? Why they speak badly of you? I'll tell you why, Naruto. You see, Naruto, the yondaime didn't kill the Kyuubi. Instead, he sealed it into a newborn baby. The baby born on that day. Naruto began to tremble. He might not have been very bright or talented, but he did develop a keen ability to understand people and common sense from having to survive alone. And he finally understood everything. I am a demon. That's why everyone hates me. Naruto was so distracted by this revelation that he didn't realize that a large Fuma shuriken was flying his way. As he realized, he felt his muscles tense, but then he hit the ground on his butt with Iruka kneeling above him with the Fuma shuriken sticking out of his back. Why? Naruto asked, voice cracking. Because we're the same. I was just like you when I was in the academy. I know the pain of not having anyone, the pain of loneliness. I'm sorry, Naruto. I should have done more. Iruka said, the pain from the Fuma shuriken lacing his voice. Don't lie to the demon, Iruka, came Mizuki's taunting voice. After all, he's the monster that killed your parents. Naruto's eyes widened and he responded to the new information in the best way he could. He grabbed the scroll and ran. Naruto jumped through the trees as fast as he could, avoiding both of the Chunin who were behind him a while ago. Naruto! Turning, the blonde saw Iruka running close behind him. Naruto! Mizuki was lying. He's just trying to confuse you. Give me the scroll so I can get it back to the Hokage. Rather than listen, Naruto simply span and tackled Iruka, knocking him out of the trees into the ground below. How? How did you know I'm not Iruka? Iruka said as he grabbed his stomach and in a puff of smoke turned back into Mizuki. Naruto simply smirked. That's easy. Because I'm Iruka. He snickered a little as he collapsed at the base of a tree and reverted to himself. Mizuki scowled at his former colleague. Why are you protecting the demon Iruka? He's the reason your parents are dead. You know what's in his hands. He'll just use that scroll to destroy Konoha. That's what demons are like. You're right. Irika said from his collapsed position, breathing hard, surprising Mizuki. That is what demons are like. Naruto, who was hiding behind a nearby tree, froze at the words. As the tears began to spill from his eyes, he thought, I knew it. Irika-sensei thinks I'm a demon too. He hates me like the rest of them. But that's not what Naruto would do. Naruto isn't a demon. He's my proud student, a citizen and future ninja of Konoha, and I believe in his dream. Naruto Uzumaki is the future Hokage of Konoha. I acknowledge him. Instantly, Naruto's mood flipped. He had someone who acknowledged him. Irika-sensei believed in him. Finally, someone besides the old man Hokage and the couple at his favorite ramen stand believed in him. You know, Irika, I was going to keep you for later. But now I think I'm just going to kill you here. Mizuki's voice, cold and bitter, drew Naruto from his thoughts. Mizuki drew a second Fuma shuriken and began to spin in preparing it to throw. Just as he prepared to let loose the shuriken, a blur of orange and yellow rammed into him, knocking his arm wildly off course, forcing the shuriken in a totally different direction. Don't even think about touching Irika-sensei. I'll kill you if you do, Naruto proclaimed, hand in the air with a defiant grin. Ha! Stupid demon. I'm a chunin. You're not even good enough to be a genin. Mizuki responded, grinning like a madman. I'll show you. Tajuu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. Irika and Mizuki stared as Naruto multiplied into hundreds of clones of himself. So many clones that there was almost more orange than green in the forest. What's wrong, Mizuki team? I thought you were tough. One of the clones from behind Mizuki yelled. Here we go, yelled one to his right. Then all the clones shot off toward a very scared traitor. Naruto smiled to himself and stood tall as he stared down at the bleeding pulp that had once been his former sensei. Maybe I overdid it a bit. Hee hee. The blonde said, scratching the back of his head. Incredible, Irika thought to himself as he watched Naruto. I wasn't too serious earlier when I told Mizuki that Naruto was the future Hokage, but with that just now, I'm starting to believe it. Naruto, come here. I have something I need to give you, Irika said. Naruto sighed a little, apprehensive about what would happen, before walking over. What's up, sensei? Close your eyes, Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes and waited. He felt some Irika remove his goggles and then felt some cloth tighten on his own forehead. Okay, Naruto, open your eyes. Immediately, Naruto opened his eyes and his hands flew to his forehead, feeling the cold metal and tracing the familiar grooves of the leaf symbol that he'd felt the times Irika had let him won. Irika was grinning proudly at him, holding the goggles in one hand. Congratulations, Naruto. You graduated. How about we go and get some ramen from Ichiraku to celebrate? Naruto smiled and looked down, holding back tears of joy. Then he tackled Irika with a giant hug. Thanks, Irika-sensei. Ow, Naruto. Ow, that hurts. Irika patted Naruto on the back as they entered the office of the old Hokage. Come in, Naruto. You too, Irika. Have a seat. Irika and Naruto had gone to get ramen before coming to see the old Hokage, though Irika had Naruto send a clone to deliver the forbidden scroll. However, Sarutobi still wished to talk to Naruto to make sure everything was fine and that there would be no problems. Well, Naruto, tell me what happened. He knew, of course, but the boy didn't need to know that. Naruto relayed the story to his adopted grandfather, explaining in detail about how Mizuki tricked him into stealing the scroll, about learning the jutsu, and about learning about the Kyuubi. As the story progressed, Naruto became more quiet and downcast. And upon reaching the part about the Kyuubi, Ji-san, is it true that I'm? Sarutobi sighed and looked at the portrait of Minato that hung from the wall directly opposite of his seat and directly behind Naruto and Irika. It is. Naruto looked down, the tears flooding out of his eyes and down his face. So it's true. I am a demon. This time, Irika was the one that intervened. No, you aren't a demon, Naruto. You're the prison and the QB is your prisoner. Indeed, Sarutobi said. If I were to seal a kunai into a scroll, would it become a kunai? No. The same thing applies to you. Sarutobi glanced out at the village. The fourth, when he sealed the QB into you, wished that you'd be viewed as a hero by the village. But people are scared. They don't understand sealing. They are unwilling to accept you because of that fear. Naruto frowned. He understood what the old man was saying and it made sense in some twisted way. But how can I make the village acknowledge me? What should I do to make them respect me? But I can do it. I'll become the Hokage still. Naruto looked up at Sarutobi with a determined face. I'll do it, Aji-san. I'll make everyone in this village acknowledge me. I'll become the Hokage. Sarutobi smiled at the young boy for a little bit before adopting a sterner face. I'm proud of you, Naruto. That is a good dream. A great goal. But if you want to become Hokage, you will have to work much harder than you have till now. You won't have time for pranks and you'll have to train and study much harder. Learn how to become a real shinobi. After all, the Hokage is the strongest ninja in the village, of course. More than the strongest, though. He's the most knowledgeable and the most cunning. Ha! So you're a pretty smart guy, Aji-san. Sarutobi chuckled. Do you know why I'm called the Professor? Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. Because you're smart? I earned my title of the Professor because of my ability to read a battlefield situation and my ability to fight. As I lived, I gained information from the many books I read ranging from politics to ninja theory, jutsu, and such. Such information is essential to becoming a Hokage. A Hokage must be smart as well as smart. Naruto nodded eagerly, soaking up all the information the wise old Hokage was giving him. I'm sure tomorrow, Iruka would be willing to work with you and go over with you what you could work on. The Hokage turned expectantly to the Chunin instructor. Of course, I'd be happy to help out. It's my job after all, Iruka said, smiling towards Naruto and throwing him a thumbs up. In 2 days, you'll be assigned to a Jonin sensei with 3 other genin. He'll be responsible for training the 3 of you. I expect you to follow what he says and learn well. Till then, get home and get rest. You too, Iruka. Take care of those wounds. Naruto smiled. You got it, Aji-san. I'll see you at 8 tomorrow, Iruka-sensei. Iruka nodded to Naruto. Hi, Hokage-sama. See you. The Hokage watched as the two left and relaxed. He pulled out his pipe and lit it. There. Minato. Kushina. Now, I hope Naruto is set on the path to becoming a ninja like both of you. Chapter 2. The sun's rays seeped into Naruto's room, slowly bathing the bed in light. But, unlike the day before, Naruto was already up and about. He'd had trouble sleeping the night before, a mixture of anxiety about the information he'd learned from Mizuki and excitement for improving himself. The blonde boy smiled to himself a little as he munched on a cup of ramen. Iruka-sensei believes in me. I can't let him down, Databeo. He had a meeting scheduled with his former sensei. Iruka had promised to go over how Naruto could improve and what he needed to work on the most. Checking all of his equipment once and tying his brand new headband to his forehead, Naruto took off towards the academy. Naruto arrived at the academy a little earlier than 8 and walked towards Iruka's office. He burst in with a loud, "Iruka-sensei, I'm here," only to see Iruka glaring at him with tick marks on his head. Naruto, this is a school. It would be prudent for you to keep your voice down and knock first next time, Iruka yelled as Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Geez, I suppose I should have known that yesterday wasn't going to affect his personality too much. Hehe, sorry sensei. I won't do it next time. So what are we going to do today? Aji-san said that you'd go over what I should do to improve before I get placed on a genin team, Naruto said as he bounced back and forth on the balls of his feet. Iruka sighed as he pinched the bridge of his nose. He wasn't too sure how to handle this. Time to take it to the basics, though, he supposed. Let's start with a spar, Naruto. You can use any jutsu you want. I won't use jutsu, Irika said, stretching lightly. Let's head to a training field. They moved outside to the academy's training ground. This training ground was soft clay flooring to make falls a little easier. There were a few forested areas for practicing combat around trees and a small lake to teach young ninja how to swim. Okay, Naruto, so you can see what your level is. We're going to spar. Come at me with everything you got. We're enemy ninja till I call off the spar. Irika looked at Naruto carefully once before adding, and to make things a little fair, I won't use ninjutsu. Understand? Naruto nodded eagerly. You got it, sensei. I'm gonna kick your butt just like I did to Mizuki team last night. Irika chuckled to himself. He remembered being this way as a chunin. Considering how many times Naruto had pranked him, he was going to enjoy this. All right, Naruto, start. Irika yelled, stepping into a simple ready stance. As soon as the words left Irika's mouth, Naruto shot forward towards Irika and threw a right roundhouse kick toward Irika's head. Irika sighed at his student's straightforwardness and simply grabbed the leg with his left hand. Snickering a bit at Naruto's expression, Irika turned and promptly swung Naruto over his head and slammed him into the ground. Pivoting, he swung Naruto back over his head and slammed him down on the other side, and then let go before backing away a few steps, listening to the groans of his student as he stood back up. What's wrong, Naruto? I thought you were going to kick my butt, Irika said, snickering at Naruto as the latter stood up, wincing at the pain. Naruto growled at the jab before rushing Irika, this time aiming a punch with his right hand at the man. Again, Irika simply sidestepped the punch while using his left hand to grab Naruto's leg. Tugging to knock Naruto off balance a little, Irika hit his student in the ribs with a sharp left roundhouse kick. Then, Irika stepped behind Naruto's legs and used the position to throw Naruto to the ground before backing away. That's the best you can do? Come on. Try to kill me or you won't get even close, Irika said, looking totally unaffected by Naruto's attempts to attack him. Naruto growled and summoned 3 shadow clones. The 4 of them drew kunai and rushed Irika, yelling, "Fine, but don't get mad at me when you end up dead." Irika laughed and dodged an attack from one of the clones. Grabbing the clone by the arms, Irika hoisted the clone before beating another clone with it, dispelling both. Then he ducked under another clone's attack that was aimed at the back of his neck. He reached up and grabbed the clone's arm as the real Naruto rushed at Irika from the front. Then, he threw the clone at Naruto, knocking him back a bit and dispelling the clone. Naruto took a few steps back, blinking a bit as the smoke from clone dissipated, and stared at the place where Irika had been just prior. "Where'd Sensei go?" "Behind you," came his instructor's voice as he felt a hand grab his back collar. He let out a little yell as he felt Irika pick him up and throw him into a tree. He felt himself collide with the tree. Groaning, he looked up only to see Irika's left fist flying towards his face. He dodged at the last minute with a yelp. Unfortunately for him, as he dodged, he felt Irika's other fist bury itself into his left side. He groaned as the force of the punch lifted him from the ground, only to feel Irika's left foot collide with the side of his head, knocking him into the ground. Before he could stand, Irika picked him up and punched him harshly in the gut, followed by 2 punches to the face. He fell against the ground and heard Irika walk away from him. He slowly stood, holding his side and grimacing. Who knew Irika-sensei could hit that hard? What the fuck was the force of that hit? "What's wrong, Naruto? Is that all you can take?" Irika said, taunting. "Man, at this point, there's no way you're going to become Hokage. It'll probably be Sasuke who'll end up marrying Sakura too." Naruto froze at the words and slowly began trembling with rage. Shooting a glare at Irika, Naruto formed the seal for the Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Channeling a large amount chakra, he summoned around 50 clones. Each drew a kunai before rushing at Irika. "I'll make you regret saying that, sensei." Irika's eyes hardened as he drew 2 kunai of his own before running at speeds Naruto had never seen towards the clones. Before Naruto even knew what had happened, he found himself alone against Irika. Every clone destroyed. Naruto grit his teeth and rushed towards Irika, who'd put the kunai away. As Naruto closed in and tried to slash at Irika, he felt a hand wrap itself around his wrist. Again, He felt Irika's knee drill into his stomach, followed by a swift kick to his head. Before he'd hit the ground, 6 punches drilled themselves into his gut, knocking the air from him as well. Naruto collapsed on the floor, breathing hard from the damage done to him. He slowly started to get up, but again, before he could, he felt Irika's foot connect into his side, knocking him over. "All right, Naruto, that's enough," Irika said to his student, who immediately lay down on his back with a groan. "How do you think that went?" Naruto groaned again. "That was terrible. You're a lot stronger than you look, Irika-sensei." Irika chuckled at his student. "Well, I am a Chunin Naruto. You, a new genin with not even a day of experience, attacked me head on the whole time. More importantly, you didn't use Kawarimi even once against me when I was beating you down." Naruto dropped his head a little as he heard Irika's critique. "Just remember, Naruto, a Hokage is someone who uses their mind. As you train more and more and as you prepare for Chunin and Jonin, that's what will be tested. How well can you plan? How far ahead can you think? A ninja isn't made from someone who knows 1,000 jutsu. They're not someone who experiment lots to gain secrets that no other ninja has touched. A great ninja is someone who can trick their opponent and take them down with minimal effort, and at the same time can use impressive technique to beat their opponent. Ninja use deception, deceit, and are masters of stealth. That's what you'll need to learn." As Irika finished his speech, he saw Naruto looking at him, intently absorbing the information. He smiled at his student proudly. Somewhere in the distance, a white-haired jonin with a mask on his face and one eye covered by his Konoha headband sneezed all over his precious little orange book and instantly swore vengeance against whomever made him sneeze. Somewhere else, a white-skinned man with long black hair looked up as he felt his skin crawl. "Someone is speaking behind my back about me." His musing was interrupted by his white-haired assistant entering the room while wiping his glasses. Back with Naruto and Irika, Naruto sat on the ground looking at Irika as he processed the words his sensei was saying. "That makes sense, sensei." "Good," Irika nodded. "Then let's get to what else you need to learn. I suggest you start reading up on history, geography, psychology, and politics, Naruto. These are important skills for ninja to understand, especially if you want to become the Hokage. Additionally, I also think you'll want to start practicing employing more control and discipline. Ninja are quiet and controlled. That just makes you seem cooler too." Naruto nodded again. He understood that being Hokage meant being smarter. He'd definitely have to take the time to read more to train his mind. "One last thing and we'll start the next part of today's training, Naruto. This is a quote from Sandaime-sama. If qualities of heaven are what you desire, acquire wisdom and knowledge to take your mind higher. If earthly abilities are what you lack, train your body in the fields and prepare to attack. When both heaven and earth are open together, the path of peril will revert to the righteous path forever. This person is the secret way that guides us on from this place today. Do you understand what this means?" Naruto simply shook his head. He had no idea. It made no sense to him. Irika nodded, understanding. After all, the first time he saw it, he hadn't understood either. Heaven is intelligence and knowledge. Earth is physical ability and stamina. It is fighting ability. What Sandaime-sama is saying here is that if you want to become a ninja of note, a powerful ninja, both of these are required. In that regard, Sasuke is far ahead of you. But don't worry. With training, you can catch up in no time. Naruto stood up and nodded excitedly. "Got it, sensei. I'll catch up in no time. Then I'll catch up and surpass you." Irika burst out laughing. He reached out and rubbed Naruto's head fondly. "I'm sure you will, Naruto. Now let's get started on the next thing you need. A ninja needs to have control. It's around 9 o'clock right now. For the next hour, I want you to sit by the lake and keep this leaf stuck to your head. Meditate there for the whole hour. Make sure that the leaf drop as little as possible." Naruto groaned. "Do I have to? Meditation is so dumb. How does it ever help ninja?" He complained loudly, pouting a bit as he stared up at his instructor. Irika sighed again at his whining student. He understood how boring this exercise was. After all, as an academy student, he'd been just as hyper and energetic as Naruto was. But it was essential to ninja to learn. Naruto, meditation is very important for ninja. It helps you regulate your chakra and learn to control it. It also allows you to spend time with yourself and learn to control yourself for long periods. It also teaches you to appreciate quietness. This is important because learning to feel and understand your chakra from meditation also helps you spot genjutsu that have been cast on you. Got it. Naruto nodded, puffing his cheeks out in disappointment. Yeah, I got it. With that, he sat by the lake with his eyes closed and legs crossed. Then, Naruto pressed a leaf to his head, as he'd done so many times during the control exercises in class, and set about focusing on keeping the leaf pressed to his head. An hour later, Naruto had to admit that the meditation was fairly relaxing and the feeling of his chakra circling through his system to his forehead was interesting. Occasionally, he would feel a tug at his chakra and a different chakra, a malevolent one thread into his own stream. He simply shrugged it off and assumed it was the Kyuubi's chakra occasionally slipping out, which wasn't that big a deal since it almost always disappeared immediately. Best of all, he'd only dropped the leaf 4 times. As he mused, he heard Iruka walking up to him. "All right, Naruto, that's enough meditation." Naruto stood with a groan and stretched. "That wasn't too bad, actually. What's next, sensei?" Iruka nodded. He figured after sitting still for that long it was time for Naruto to get some movement in. "All right then, let's get you some physical exercise. Give me 10 laps around the training field, 30 push-ups, and 30 sit-ups." Naruto nodded and took off at a moderate pace. After the mild physical exercise, Iruka and Naruto had taken an hour break to get lunch together at Ichiraka ramen stand. Naruto had been coming to this place since he was a child, often with Sarutobi on rough nights. 3 different Umbu Black Ops had brought him to the restaurant after rescuing him from a mob. To him, the owners of this stand were the first people after the Hokage to truly recognize him and care for him. He spent his time hastily gobbling bowl after bowl of ramen while excitedly telling Tucci, the older owner of the store, and his daughter, Ayam, about the events of his training with his sensei, about how he was going to become Hokage in no time with what Iruka was teaching him, and about how incredible every bowl of ramen he'd eaten was. As Naruto yelled his conversation at the duo, Iruka sat quietly, eating his own bowl of ramen, was contemplating what the next step to take with his student should be. Naruto has incredible stamina and great fighting potential. His weakest point, however, the thing that sets him behind many other students, is his chakra control and his mind. That's what the thing I need to work on with him. His Jonin-sensei can work with him on his strengths. With a plan in motion, Iruka started to speed up on his intake of his lunch. Finishing his bowl, he turned to Naruto, who was finishing up his 8th bowl. "All right, Naruto, let's get back to training." Naruto nodded, excitedly jumped up and excitedly yelled, "What's next, sensei? Are we gonna learn some jutsu? Are you gonna teach me some special chunin sparring?" "I know. I bet we're gonna go over how to destroy an enemy ninja with one technique, right?" Iruka chuckled to himself again. "Oh, this is gonna be fun." "The library?" Naruto yelled, his face turning a little red as he and Iruka approached a larger round building around 3 blocks away from the Hokage Tower. The building was a 3-story building stocked full of books. The first floor was partitioned into books for civilians and books for the basics of shinobi. The second floor was designed for genin and chunin to find information, and the third floor was for those of chunin rank or above. The third floor was also largely quarantined for jonin. "Why are we going to the library?" Naruto yelled at his sensei. "I thought we were going to train." Iruka sighed. He'd been sighing a lot today. The stress probably wasn't good for his health. "Naruto, I told you earlier. A good ninja trains his mind as well as his body. You have lots of stamina and tons of chakra. What you need now is control and to build your intelligence. So, the first step to that is reading." He stopped to make sure that Naruto was still listening. Seeing Naruto still looking at him intently, albeit disappointedly, he continued, "What I want you to do after we walk in will be to find 1 book on each of the topics I assign. You will read each of them and then I will test you on them." "Got it." Naruto nodded with a sigh of his own. "Okay, but I'm not allowed in the library, sensei. He looked down as if ashamed. Irika raised an eyebrow. You didn't pull a prank in there, did you, Naruto? Naruto shook his head, still looking down. I didn't do anything. The mean library lady said that I don't deserve the knowledge in there. Irika was furious. This was a travesty. Masking his anger, he turned to Naruto. Don't worry, Naruto. You're a ninja under the direct rule of the Hokage. There's no way they can say anything to you. I'll make sure you can get in. Come on. Grabbing Naruto by the shoulders, Irika steered him toward the library and walked behind him into the library. As they walked into the library, Irika walked Naruto towards a small table in the building and sat him down. Then, in a quiet voice, he began giving instructions. Okay, I want you to get 5 from these categories. First, I want you to get a book on basic chakra control and theory. Second, get yourself a book on the history of Konoha. Anything about Konoha's history will do. We have tons of stuff for you to learn about. The third kind of book you want to look for is a fiction book. The fourth book I want you to get is a biography. Find one famous ninja in all of ninja history and read up on him. The final thing I want you to get is any book of your choice. That's all. Once you get them, come back here with them. Naruto nodded. Got it, sensei. Moving quickly, he began to walk towards the first book area he wanted to go to. As he walked, the librarian approached him rather loudly and viciously snarling about how the brat shouldn't be in the library. Before he'd even finished an entire sentence, however, she found herself pinned against a wall by the neck by Irika with a razor-sharp kunai centimeters from her eyes. If you ever try to keep a shinobi of this village from entering this building, especially my student, I'll tear out your eyes before reporting you to Hokage-sama for execution. Do I make myself clear? Irika snarled at the terrified woman. She nodded frequently and Irika let her go, dropping her to the ground where she grabbed her neck, coughing. Irika ignored her and turned to Naruto. Work, Naruto. Naruto smiled and took off to get the books he needed. A few minutes later, Naruto was seated at a table reading the first of his books that Irika had demanded, a book on the history of Konoha. The writing in the book was horrendously boring and the book was mostly just dates followed by events. He'd read a few pages, slowly, then would get distracted by the various ninja around him or by something outside a window. Every time he got distracted, however, Irika was quick to smack him on the head with a book of his own before making him read more. This continued for an hour or two before Irika, noticing that Naruto had no more patience to read, decided to call for a break and a change in pace. All right, Naruto, that's enough for today. Let's go spar one more time before we call it quits for tonight. Then we'll get dinner, Irika said, snapping his book shut and standing up. Naruto nodded, yawning a bit and stretching as he stood to follow his sensei. Get your books checked out, drop them off at your apartment, and then meet me at the academy training grounds. Naruto arrived at the training, eager to try again against his instructor. Arriving there, however, he only found an empty training ground. Scratching the back of his head with his hand, he began slowly walking around the training ground. Ha! Irika-sensei is late. I can't wait to make fun of him about it after all those times he yelled at me for it. Naruto snickered as he casually walked towards a shady spot to rest for a bit. He froze suddenly, however, as he felt something cold press itself against his neck. Dead, came Irika's voice. Releasing his pupil and stepping into Naruto's field of view, he shook his head at his student. You need to be more aware, Naruto. That was much too easy. If I was an enemy ninja, you'd be dead. Naruto frowned at his sensei. That wasn't fair, sensei. You beat me because you surprised me. Irika sighed. The life of a ninja isn't fair, Naruto. We're assassins. We use stealth, tricks, and surprise as our weapons. You need to be aware of that. Stretching slightly, he took a few steps away from Naruto. But, since you want a head-on fight, come at me. Let's see what you've got. Naruto grinned before taking off at his instructor, charging forward. Irika smiled at his student's approach. He was going to enjoy this too. Time to get revenge for all those pranks. Naruto sat bruised and battered in Irika's apartment staring at his plate. First you kick my butt, then you make me eat vegetables. You're really sadistic, sensei. Irika burst out laughing as he looked at the plate in front of his student, which had rice, some steamed carrots and spinach, some fish, and a bowl of miso soup. Eating healthy is part of becoming a better ninja to Naruto. I'm sure your new sensei will insist on it too starting tomorrow. Oh yeah, we get assigned to our new teams tomorrow. I can't wait. Do you know who our sensei is? What kind of missions do we get to go on? I bet it's something really cool. Naruto began excitedly. Calm down, Naruto, Irika yelled. You'll just have to wait and see. Now eat your food. You should probably head back soon and get bed. Naruto nodded before gobbling his food. Chapter 3. Naruto stepped out of his apartment, taking in the crisp morning air, and stretched slightly. He'd gotten up extra early today, excited about getting placed onto a team and to go on missions. It's the start of my career to become Hokage. Happily munching on a cup of ramen, Naruto descended down to the street below and began a happy walk to the academy. There was no one out and about this early, which meant that the day hadn't started with the cold glares that people sent his way either. A good start. I hope I don't get placed on a team with Sasuke team. I'm gonna hope that I end up with Sakura-chan. As long as I'm with Sakura-chan and not with Sasuke team, I don't care who the third person is. He smiled again as he imagined himself with the Hokage hat on, sitting on a throne with Sakura feeding him his beloved Ichiraku ramen as he used Sasuke as a footstool. He was so lost in this daydream, in fact, that he didn't notice that he'd reached the academy till he walked right into the closed door to the building, smacking his head hard against the large wooden door. Yelping, Naruto looked both directions quickly to make sure no one saw him, before swinging the door open and hurrying to his classroom. As he moved in, he noticed Irika focused on last-minute grading and other plans for the summer. "Good morning, Irika-sensei," Naruto yelled, grinning as he noticed the teacher startle, scratching a red line across the paper he was currently grading. Irika took a moment to compose himself before shooting a heated glare at Naruto. "Good morning, Naruto. I see you still have energy after all that work yesterday. I'll be sure to let your Jonin-sensei know to remedy that." Naruto just waved him off with a laugh. "I finished that book on Konoha history yesterday. It was so boring. But I guess I learned some stuff." He'd sat late into the night poring over the book. In reality, he was fascinated by the Hokage, by each of their stories, and by what each had sacrificed for the village. His hero had always been the fourth, the hero who sealed the fox into him, but now he understood the sacrifices made by the first and second and why the third was the Hokage too. The information had only served to increase his resolve to join their ranks. He just didn't need Irika to assign more boring books to read. "I'm impressed you finished that fast, Naruto. I expect you to keep up that work ethic after you join your Genin team," Irika said with a smile at his favorite student. "Do you already know what the teams are, sensei?" Naruto asked, edging a bit closer to the desk, hoping to maybe get a peek at the listing. Irika, however, shifted his papers so that they covered the names and smirked. "Yes, Naruto, I do. You'll just have to wait till everyone's here before you find out though." Naruto pouted at his teacher's response before sighing and finding a seat. "Fine, I guess I'll just read till then." Irika nodded at his student. "Good idea. One day training with me isn't enough to catch up to the others in your class." Naruto, having finished his book on history, decided the next book he would cover was the biography he'd picked. Deciding that the history books gave enough information to him on the Hokage and prominent figures such as the Sannin, Naruto had chosen a book on Tsukumo Hatake, the White Fang of Konoha. The story of the ninja was tremendously interesting to Naruto, and he quickly found himself immersed in the story of the man. As he read, the room filled with more and more voices as students flooded in, and ironically, Naruto found himself seated on the same row as Sasuke, with just a seat between them. TCH. Of course I'd end up on the same row as the stupid team. Why couldn't he go sit somewhere else? Muttering to himself about stuck-up jerks, Naruto returned to his book. He didn't get a chance to read long though, as sudden pounding was heard accompanied by arguing and yelling. Naruto looked up to see two girls burst through the door, one pink-haired and one blonde. The pink-haired one was yelling, "Ha! Take that, Ino pig! I'm first!" The blonde immediately responded, "No way, forehead! My foot was a whole inch ahead of yours." The two continued this argument till suddenly Sakura took off running up to Naruto. "Naruto!" Naruto's face burst into a bright smile. "Good morning, Sakura-sage-dash." Before he could finish his loud greeting, however, he felt a fist make hard contact with his head, followed by a screech. "Move it! I want to sit next to Sasuke-kun." Naruto grimaced. He should have expected that. Despite his massive crush on the girl, Sakura seemed to only have eyes for one person, her beloved Sasuke, who didn't care for the girl at all. "What are you doing here anyway, Baka? Don't you know that only people who pass the exam get to be genin?" Sakura continued as she moved next to her beloved Sasuke-kun. Naruto sighed to himself. He should have expected this behavior. Putting on his usual happy smile again, he pointed at his headband. "I passed, Sakura-chan. That's what the headband means." "Whatever." Sakura rolled her eyes and then turned to Sasuke. "Sasuke-kun, are you excited to be placed on a genin team? I hope we end up on a team together." Sakura shrieked at Sasuke. Wincing a bit at the pinkette's volume, Sasuke responded, "HN." Naruto rolled his eyes at the interaction and returned to his book, reading up a bit more on the White Fang, who seemed to have been one of Konoha's best jonin. It was actually very surprising to him that the man wasn't better known despite his incredible power, which some even rumored rivaled the Sannin. As Naruto continued his reading, he noticed Iruka stand and begin to speak. "All right, listen up. I'm going to start announcing the teams that will be made. Team 1 will consist of Miwa Abumi, Jinsuke Shizaki, and Toshiro Yura. Your sensei will be Genma Shiranui." Naruto sighed and continued reading, making sure, however, to stay focused enough to hear his name. "Please don't let me be on a team with Sasuke team." Iruka's voice cut through Naruto's thoughts. "Team 7 shall be made up of Naruto Uzumaki. Please not Sasuke. Please let me be with Sakura-chan. Sakura Haruno." "Yatta," Naruto thought with a big grin taking over his face. Sakura groaned at the thought. "Great. Now I have to deal with him constantly begging me for a date." And finally Iruka continued, "Uchiha Sasuke." "What?" came Naruto's voice as he jumped up, throwing a finger towards Sasuke as he spoke, ignoring Sakura's triumphant cheering. "Sensei, this has to be the stupidest idea ever. We don't get along at all. Why would anyone place us on a team together when we hate each other's guts? Whoever made these teams was totally wrong. There is a definite mistake here." Iruka let out a sigh and suppressed a chuckle at the same time. He was expecting this. "Quiet, Naruto. Customarily, the teams are made up of the Rookie of the Year, the Best Kunoichi, and the Dead Last. You were the Dead Last this year and Sasuke was the Rookie of the Year." Naruto sat down with a sigh as the rest of the class laughed at him. "Your sensei will be Hatake Kakashi." As the words left Iruka's mouth, Naruto instantly perked up. "Hatake? Like Hatake Tsukumo? Is this person related to the White Fang?" Before he could ask, however, Iruka had continued on. "Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame. Your sensei will be Yuhi Kurinai. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10 will be Choji Akamichi, Shikamaru Nara, and Ino Yamanaka. Your sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma." "Sarutobi? Someone related to Aji-san." Naruto's pondered again. "I wonder if he's strong like Aji-san too." "All right, class. Your sensei should be here soon. Please wait patiently for them to arrive," Iruka said. Almost as soon as the words left his mouth, the door opened and a tall man with hair spiked back slightly and a beard stepped in. He wore the usual jonin attire, but at his waist was a white cloth bearing the symbol of the Hai no Kuni. He casually puffed on his cigarette for a second while assessing the class in front of him. Team 10, come with me. Turning, he stepped out of the door, stopping briefly to mutter a hello to someone as they stepped in. This Jonin was a tall, beautiful lady with gorgeous red eyes and long brown hair. She wore a dress that appeared to be made from bandages. Team 8, follow me please. Without another word, she left, leaving her team to hurry after her. As Kiba passed Naruto, he yelled, "We got a total babe, Akamaru. This is gonna be great." Naruto sighed at the statement. "I can't believe I let him get a better class rank than me." Almost an hour passed and every other team had left the room except for Naruto's. He had grown impatient, yelling about his failure of a sensei and about how stupid it was that the Jonin was so late. "I'm starving. Where is this idiot sensei?" came his yell again. Sakura, however, had grown tired of the screaming. "Shut up, Naruto. I'm sick of your yelling. You're annoying Sasuke-kun too. Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun?" HN. Naruto rolled his eyes at the two before he proceeded to plan a quick but simple revenge against his sensei. He took an eraser and placed it at the top of the door in the crack and sat back, ignoring Sakura's renewed screeches. "Baka Naruto, you can't seriously expect a Jonin to fall for that kind of a prank." She waved her arm at him angrily while sneaking a glance towards Sasuke. "But I hope it works. Serves that teacher right if it does anyway." Inner Sakura cheered. As she finished her statement, the door slid open and the eraser fell, right on to a white spiky-haired man who wore a face mask, the standard Jonin attire, but wore his headband pulled down over his left eye. As it fell, it bounced slightly before falling to the ground. As soon as it happened, Naruto burst out laughing while Sakura frantically apologized and Sasuke simply glared at Naruto and at his new sensei. "Humph, if he falls for such a simple trick, he must be pathetic," Sasuke thought. Kakashi, however, wasn't quite as pathetic as Sasuke thought. He knew the trap was there, of course, but any good ninja also knew the value of underestimation. This was step one to make his foolish little students underestimate him. Smiling at the three genin in front of him, Kakashi held up his hand. "Team 7, I'm your new sensei. My first impression of you is, I hate you." Sakura's face fell quickly and Naruto just continued laughing while Sasuke intensified his glare. "Meet me on the roof in 10 minutes. I'll grab us some lunch. I won't be late this time." With those words, Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves as the three genin quickly made their way up to the roof. By the time the three made it to the roof, Kakashi was casually sitting on the roof with 4 boxes near him. He gestured for the three genin to sit as he spoke. "Let's start with introductions. After that, we'll eat, and as we do, we'll talk about the team as we move forward." Turning to Sakura, he nodded. "You first, Pinky." Sakura frowned at the nickname before she looked at her sensei. Could you go first so we have an idea of how to do it?" Kakashi nodded. "My name is Hatake Kakashi. My likes I can't tell you about till you're old enough. I don't particularly care enough to tell you about my dislikes. I have some hobbies, though I suppose I do enjoy reading. I don't think I want to tell you about my dreams for the future." The three genin's sweat dropped. All he told us is his name and that he likes to read, they all thought. "Now it's your turn, Pinky." Sakura nodded. "My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes are..." She glanced at Sasuke. "My hobbies are..." Another glance at Sasuke. "My dreams for the future." Another glance at Sasuke followed by a slight nosebleed. "Oh, and my dislikes are Ino Pig and Naruto," Sakura shrieked. Kakashi winced at the volume slightly while Naruto grimaced. "Great. Fangirl. We'll have to work on that." Storing the thought, Kakashi picked up the first bento that he had, which was gray but with a small sakura flower on top. Sakura accepted with a bow and opened the box. As soon as she did, however, she immediately became disappointed and almost instinctively pushed the box away. Naruto and Sasuke, both overcome by curiosity, looked into her box to find it full of 2 burgers and lots of fries. "Sakura," Kakashi said, You are horribly thin for a kunoichi and fairly lacking in muscle mass. You are probably also prone to what all girls your age seem to be prone to, dieting. As a ninja, you'll work off all the food you eat and our work is anything but easy. If you diet and avoid this kind of food, you'll grow weak. Someday you'll encounter a more powerful ninja, and you'll die. So, to prevent that, eat up. Besides, young men tend to prefer a girl that eats more than one that starves herself. Sakura muttered as she glanced at Sasuke, who continued to look straight ahead. Then, tentatively, she took a bite of her burger and slowly sped up the pace of her intake. Nodding as the girl began to eat, Kakashi turned to Naruto, who was almost drooling at the sight of Sakura's bento. "You next, blondie." Naruto turned to Kakashi and began at his usual loud volume. "Yash, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, Databeo. I like ramen, especially Ichiraka's ramen, Hokage Aji-san, Irika-sensei, and training. I dislike the 3 minutes it takes to make ramen. I also dislike the people who can't tell the difference between a kunai and the scroll it's sheathed into." Sakura and Sasuke looked at Naruto oddly, while Kakashi remained impassive in expression. So, he knows about the Kyuubi and has come to naturally dislike people who discriminate against him. I hope that doesn't create any issues. My dream. Naruto paused to look out at the faces of the Hokage on the mountain. I guess that's twofold. He resumed, quieting. Long term, my goal is to become the Hokage. But, short term, I want to become a great ninja like the Sannin or the White Fang. Sasuke and Sakura both scoffed at the statement while Kakashi simply smiled a bit. The White Fang, huh? I wonder if he realizes that's my father. Kakashi thought as he held out a gray box similar to Sakura's. This one had a spiral like the one on Naruto's jumpsuit and on the back of his own vest on top. Naruto excitedly accepted his box and quickly opened it up, only to be disappointed by the food inside. It was full of leafy greens like spinach as well as a few cuts of meat. Kakashi, seeing his disappointment, began. Naruto, like Sakura, your diet is extremely unhealthy. You eat too much ramen. Seeing this, I spoke with Hokage-sama and he has given me permission to monitor your diet as long as I am your sensei. This doesn't mean no ramen, just that you have to eat other things. You can get ramen with extra money, but every Saturday, I'll be buying food for you for the week using your money. Tell me what kind of food you like from what's in that box." Naruto sighed. I guess this is part of being a ninja too. With those words, he began eating. Kakashi turned to Sasuke next. All right, Broody, you're up. Sasuke glared. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I like udon and tomatoes. I dislike sweet things. My dream for the future is to restore the Uchiha clan and to kill certain man. Kakashi nodded. Revenge. We'll work on that too. He held out a box similar to the other bento boxes that had the Uchiha symbol on top. Sasuke opened the box and, like the other two, he frowned and glared up at Kakashi. The box was full of dango. I hate sweets. Kakashi nodded. I understand, but that's part of being a ninja too. Sometimes you have to buckle up and eat sweet foods. That's a side of life that you have to learn to appreciate because as you get older, finding sweet things gets a little harder in the bitter world of shinobi. And sometimes, it's good to eat foods you dislike. Sasuke sighed and looked at his teammates who were tentatively eating their own food. With another sigh, he began to eat his dango. Kakashi opened his own box, which was full of curry bread, one of his least favorite foods thanks to a certain green spandex-clad jonin. He began to take bites of his food. Now, let's talk about the future of the team. Kakashi spoke, drawing the genin's attention to himself. Tomorrow, we will begin with a short training exercise of sorts. Naruto perked up quickly. A training exercise? What's it gonna be, sensei? He asked excitedly, only for Kakashi to begin chuckling in response. What's so funny? Sakura asked. Kakashi quieted his chuckling a bit. Sorry, I just forgot you didn't know about this next part. Tomorrow will be the start of your official genin test. What? Came Naruto's voice. We already passed that. Kakashi chuckled a little more. That was just the easy one to weed out those too pathetic to continue. This test is one that makes sure you have what it takes. It has a fail rate of 66% though. Out of all those genin that passed the academy test, only 9 of you will continue forward. Let's start tomorrow. Be sure to bring all your tools and we'll start at 5 o'clock sharp. Oh, and I suggest you don't eat breakfast, you might throw up. You're dismissed. See you bright and early. Kakashi almost burst out laughing at the expression on the faces of his new students. Sasuke looked a bit more broody and frustrated than usual. Sakura looked like she was going to puke already from the anxiety. Naruto looked a weird mix between fear and determination. This was going to a fun test. Slowly, Sasuke got up and walked away, followed almost immediately by Sakura, who began to pester him for a date to plan out a battle strategy for the next day. Naruto, however, hung back and walked up to his sensei. "Sensei, are you related to the White Fang?" Naruto asked Kakashi, who stood casually as his student approached him. Kakashi smiled at his student. "Yep, he was my dad." Naruto began jumping up and down. "That's so cool. He's an incredible ninja," Naruto almost shouted. "I'm reading a book about him." He pulled out his biography and showed it to Kakashi. Kakashi smiled at his student's enthusiasm and began flipping through the pages. "What prompted you to read about him, Naruto?" "Well, Hokage Aji-san told me I needed to know about history and really polish my skills as a ninja. So, yesterday I worked on my taijutsu and basic knowledge with Irika-sensei. He made me get 5 books at the library. One of those had to be a biography, and I didn't want to read on a ninja that was really popular with history books, since that was one I had to read too." Kakashi nodded understandingly. "It's nice to see someone looks up to dad. Get some rest, Naruto. Tomorrow's gonna be tough." Naruto nodded and after saying goodbye sped off to prepare for the next day. Naruto decided that his last task would be to meet with Irika once more with some questions and then head to either the library or to visit the old Hokage. With that in mind, he took off to meet his old sensei. He jumped in through the window to Irika's office and loudly announced his presence. "Irika-sensei." As soon as he did, he felt a piece of chalk hit him squarely between eyes. "What is it, Naruto?" Naruto rubbed face as he responded. "So, I finished the book on history and on the White Fang. I want to grab a book that's special interest next. Do you have any recommendations?" Irika looked at Naruto. "I'm impressed that you finished those books so fast. Have you tried asking your new Jonin sensei?" Naruto shook his head. "He doesn't really know me well yet. I want to see what you think." Irika nodded. That made sense to him. A lot of shinobi have specialties. They have specialties such as specific jutsu, weapons, or even styles of a certain jutsu type. I'm not sure which of those you could research. Perhaps ask the Hokage. Naruto's eyes lit up. "Good idea. I was planning to go by and visit since I haven't spoken to him in a while. I'll head off there." Naruto knocked on the Hokage's door before simply walking in. "Hey Aji-san." The old Hokage looked up at the young genin and smiled. "Hello Naruto. How are you?" "I'm great. Are you still doing that boring old paperwork?" Sarutobi sighed before glaring at the large stacks of paper in front of him. "I am. Unfortunately, this work never seems to end. I never understand how the fourth would finish all this work as quickly as he did." Naruto laughed happily. "I guess he really was a flash all the time. Say, Aji-san, I have a question." Sarutobi raised an eyebrow before leaning back. "Go ahead, Naruto. What was your question?" "Irika-sensei said I should get a book about a topic I'm interested in, and I'm not really sure what I should read. I want to read something that'll kind of develop into a speciality for myself. I was wondering if you have any recommendations." The old Hokage smiled to himself. "I'm sure I can think of something." The Hokage stood up and began to walk around the room. The wheels in Sarutobi's head were spinning like crazy. This is an opportunity to see how Naruto takes to the kind of jutsu that made his parents so famous. I think Fuinjutsu is the definite thing to tell him right now. Sarutobi looked up for a second at the picture of the fourth Hokage that hung directly across his desk and smiled before turning back to the young genin near him. I believe I have just the thing you need actually, Naruto, Sarutobi said brightly as he walked to the same place that Naruto had stolen the forbidden scroll from. He picked up a small book that lay near the same scroll and giving it a quick look through, he handed it to Naruto. Naruto held the small blue book, similar in size to one of the orange books he'd seen the old Hokage read on occasion before. He looked for a title on the cover and finding nothing, he looked up at his surrogate grandfather. Sarutobi chuckled a bit at the look. Open the book. The title is on the inside. Naruto opened the front cover and on the inside, he found the title, Introduction to Sealing. He looked up at Sarutobi again. Fuinjutsu? I thought that was supposed to be really hard. Sarutobi nodded. It is hard, but I think you have what it takes to learn it. I believe your sensei is Kakashi. He is fairly proficient in the skill as well. Many of the Hokage were known for their ability to seal. I am fairly decent. My sensei, the first and second, were excellent at the art. The fourth Hokage was a genius at it. If you are seeking to become one of us, perhaps this will help. As he talked about the Hokage, he saw Naruto's eyes light up. You got it, Aji-san. I'll have this down in no time, he yelled. Sarutobi chuckled. I'm sure you will, Naruto-kun. But I must offer a word of warning. You must be careful with this as you learn. Promise me you will follow the book and not skip anything. Fuinjutsu can easily kill or cripple someone who does not work properly. Naruto nodded. I promise. Now, I think I'm gonna go get ready for tomorrow morning. Kakashi-sensei says we have a test. The Hokage nodded. Indeed. Good night, Naruto. The next morning, Naruto woke up by 4 a.m. and took a quick cold shower. Not that he minded. He had grown used to the cold water from the lack of any hot water to his office. After that, he walked to the kitchen and reached for a cup of ramen. As he poured water into it and prepared to toss it in the microwave, Kakashi's words from the day before came back. Naruto decided to ignore the suggestion, especially since Kakashi hadn't let him get ramen the night before anyway, and ate his cup. He packed his supplies, the book the Hokage had given him the night before, and took off to meet his team at Training Ground 7. Naruto had arrived at the training ground almost 15 minutes prior to 5. However, more than 3 hours had passed and still Kakashi hadn't arrived. Naruto wasn't too upset though, as he sat with his back against a tree and tried to ignore Sakura's angry shrieks about their sensei's lateness and her flirting with Sasuke. As he did, Naruto began reading the book he received from the Hokage. The first few pages had precautionary warnings of Fuinjutsu, and the author, a name he didn't recognize, recommended the student to practice handwriting while studying the book constantly because even 1 or 2 stray marks could cause havoc to students. As the 3rd hour passed, Kakashi appeared before his students in a puff of smoke. Good morning, he smiled cheerily as he held up a hand in greeting. You're late, came Sakura's screech accompanied by a milder rebuke from Naruto. Kakashi sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Well, you see, what happened was that I was on my way here when a black cat crossed my path. So, to ward off the bad luck, I had to go walk 7 circles around the whole village. Immediately Sakura yelled again. Liar! Kakashi ignored the pain in his ears and continued. Anyway, let's get started for the test. As he talked, Kakashi held up 2 silver bells and pulled out a wooden alarm clock. All you have to do to pass is get one of these bells from me before noon. Simple, right? Sakura immediately raised her hand. But sensei, there are only 2 bells. Kakashi, I smiled. Yep, which means that no matter what, one of you will be sent back to the academy. Those of you who do not get a bell will be tied to a log and won't get lunch either. As he said the word lunch, Sakura and Sasuke's stomachs growled. Naruto, however, was unfazed thanks to his breakfast. Underneath his mask, Kakashi frowned and looked at Naruto. Naruto, I thought I told you not to eat breakfast. As he said these words, Sasuke and Sakura turned to glare at their teammate. Naruto grinned. Actually, sensei, you said you suggest we don't so we won't throw up. But food digests in 3 hours according to Hokage Aji-san. So, I won't throw up anyway and you only suggested. Kakashi shrugged as the other two genin snorted. Oh well, make sure you come at me with the intent to kill. Otherwise you'll never get the bells. Sakura looked at the white-haired jonin. What if you get hurt, sensei? Kakashi chuckled at the genin as Naruto suppressed a snort. I think I'll be okay, Sakura. Now, begin. As soon as he said the words, the 3 genin shot away from their sensei. Kakashi stood in the middle of the open clearing in the training ground and casually looked around. Well, at least they all know how to hide themselves. Almost as soon as he thought that, though, Naruto's voice came from behind him. Hey, sensei, there's something wrong here. Kakashi turned and raised an eyebrow at Naruto. You're an odd one. You know that? He asked the orange-clad ninja. Naruto shook his head at his sensei. I'm not the odd one here. You are. Irika-sensei made me read a book on history recently. There's no such thing as a 3-man team. All genin teams consist of 3 genin and a jonin sensei. Your test doesn't make any sense. Kakashi's surprise almost showed on his face. Almost. That's unexpected. Did he figure out the trick to the exam? No, but he's getting there. Kakashi simply I smiled. Maybe, but I'm changing things up a bit, I suppose. Now, are you just going to stand there or try to get the bells? Naruto nodded. May I please have the bells? Kakashi chuckled. No, but nice try. I've never had someone just ask for them. Naruto shrugged. You're a jonin. I don't think I'll be beating you. I suppose I'll just try. With that, Naruto drew a kunai and charged at Kakashi, who reached into his own pouch. As Naruto saw the jonin reach into the pouch, he stopped, only to sweat drop when the jonin pulled out a small orange book that he'd seen the Hokage also read. Kakashi looked at Naruto over the book. What's wrong? Why did you stop? Naruto looked at him, head cocked slightly. You're gonna read while we fight? Kakashi chuckled. I'm not too worried. You're probably too weak for me to be serious. Naruto growled and charged at the jonin, stabbing forward with the kunai. Kakashi stepped to the side and grabbed Naruto's wrist, twisting it harshly, forcing the genin to drop the kunai. He then threw Naruto away. Naruto flipped in the air, so that he would land on his feet, and then charged again at Kakashi, attacking with an onslaught of punches and kicks that Kakashi simply wove through, while occasionally giggling at his Ika. Naruto growled and drew a kunai and slashed at the jonin, only to find him suddenly gone. Then, from behind him, he heard a voice. The first skill of the ninja is taijutsu. Don't you know not to let your enemy behind you? Before Naruto could react, he heard a warning yell from Sakura, and then he felt Kakashi's fingers into his butt, and felt himself go flying into a nearby lake. As this happened, 3 things happened. First, Kakashi let out a yell of 1,000 years of pain. Sakura face planted as she not only foolishly gave away her position but also mistook a glorified Kincho for a tiger seal. Sasuke muttered to himself about revenge, the stupidity of Sakura caring about Naruto and foolishly giving away her position, and about some more revenge. Naruto hit the water in the lake hard and felt the cool water surround him. As it did, he decided that it was time to change his approach. Kakashi was too strong for him. He put his fingers into his favorite hand seal and quickly created 20 clones which burst from the water and began to attack Kakashi. As this happened, another 2 clones quietly slipped away. Naruto began to attack Kakashi with his clones from multiple angles and prepared to take the bells. Each time he got close, however, Kakashi simply found a way to escape using the Kawarimi Jutsu or simply using a clone as a weapon. As the number of clones dwindled, Naruto took a few steps back and began to throw weapons at Kakashi, missing quite a few of the throws, hitting his own clones. Eventually, only he was left. Kakashi smiled at Naruto. Well, that was interesting. Are you done yet? Naruto just smiled as the 2 clones he'd split away earlier flung kunai at Kakashi. These found their mark, hitting Kakashi's head. Before he could get too excited, though, there was a puff of smoke and a log impaled with kunai took Kakashi's place. Naruto growled before taking off in pursuit of his sensei again. In a separate part of the woods, Sakura was moving quickly. I hope I find Sasuke-kun soon. I really hope he's not hurt. She stopped as she saw Kakashi and hid behind a tree. Did he see me? She peeked around the tree. Kakashi just continued to walk away from her location, and as he did, Sakura let out a breath of relief. Good. I'd better find Sasuke-kun soon so he and I can pass this test together. As she did, however, she heard a voice from behind her. PSSST. Sakura. Sakura turned to see Kakashi behind her and then promptly fell unconscious. Sakura opened her eyes to see no one around her. Oh no! How long was I out? It doesn't look like the test is over yet. I'd better go find Sasuke-kun. Sakura, came another voice from behind her. This voice she easily recognized. Sasuke-kun, you found me! Sakura cheered as she turned to his direction. However, what she saw knocked the breath out of her. Sasuke, covered in wounds, stabbed all over with kunai, spears, shuriken, and swords. He looked at her, coughed up some blood. Help me, Sakura, he muttered before falling over. Sakura responded the only way she knew. Sasuke-kun, she screamed before she fainted as well. Sakura's scream echoed through the training ground as Kakashi stood over her. Maybe I overdid it a little. Kakashi stared down at her a little longer. Meh. She was supposed to be good at dealing with genjutsu anyway. Oh well. I'm moving on. Time to crush the last one. Sakura's scream echoed as Sasuke stopped and looked around. Looks like Sakura got taken down. What an idiot. Naruto and Sakura are weak. I'm not like them, Sasuke said as he turned to face Kakashi, who simply smiled reading his book. We'll see about that after you get the bells, Kakashi said, giggling into the pages of his book. Sasuke growled as he attacked Kakashi, coupling a large series of punches and kicks, twisting in between the combo to reach for the bells. Never getting close, however, as Kakashi just used his free hand to repeatedly knock him away. As Kakashi roughly pushed Sasuke away the last time, Kakashi twisted and began going through a series of fast hand signs which Kakashi easily recognized. Interesting. A genin shouldn't have the chakra to perform the jutsu, but I suppose he is Itachi's brother, Kakashi thought. As he continued to read, he heard Sasuke call out, "Great fireball jutsu!" As he did, a blast of fire blew out from his mouth, forming a huge ball that slowly moved towards Kakashi, who continued reading as the flames engulfed him. As the fire slowly faded, Sasuke moved forward to get the bells, only to see a burning log. Shit, I forgot he could do that. He quickly started looking around. He's not to the left or right. He's not behind me. Check above for him. I don't see him there. Where is he? Below came Kakashi's voice as Sasuke tried to jump away. The white-haired ninja quickly wrapped his hands around Sasuke's ankles and pulled him into the ground, so that only his head was above it. Earth style. Headhunter Jutsu, Kakashi said, still reading his little orange book. You certainly do stand out, but you aren't anything more special than Naruto. Just a little better trained, but I'm sure that won't last long. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard before that the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down the hardest. With those words, Kakashi took off, still giggling into his orange book. Naruto found Sakura collapsed on the ground and began to shake her. Sakura, wake up. We need to find Sasuke team and team up. We can't beat Sensei alone. As Naruto shook her to try to wake her up, Sakura opened her eyes. What? Naruto smiled. Great. You're awake, dash. Before Naruto could finish speaking, though, Sakura sat up, frantically smashing her forehead into Naruto's nose, knocking him over. With a quick screech of Sasuke-kun, she took off running. Sasuke's head continued to look around when he saw Sakura. He decided that she could help him out and called out, Sakura, help me. She turned to him and then, with another screech, passed out. Sasuke just bowed his head and groaned. Damn it. Luckily, before much longer, Naruto showed up. Hey team, you're a bit stuck there. Stop wasting time. He quickly began digging Sasuke out. Sasuke gave him a quick and strange, confused glare. What are you doing, dope? You do realize this is a competition. Naruto nodded. Yeah, but there's no point to all of us failing. He's a jonin. I think the only chance we have is to work together, even if I do hate you with every inch of my guts. Sasuke rolled his eyes. As if you have anything to offer, Dobe. I don't need help from the dead last. Naruto started to argue. As if you can deal with a jonin alone team. No matter how good you are, what makes you think that one of the elite ninja in the village is going to lose to you? Sasuke grit his teeth, turning away as Sakura sat up, quietly listening to the conversation between the two boys. The man I need to kill is stronger. I don't have time to waste arguing with you. Naruto tried again. How do you know that? What if this ninja is stronger? Kakashi-sensei might be way stronger for all you know. Before either of the boys could continue though, Sakura screeched. Shut up, Baka. Didn't you hear what Sasuke-kun said? He doesn't need help from some no-name loser like you. You're just a class clown and a dead last moron. It's probably because you don't have parents to tell you right from wrong anyway. You don't even have to have annoying parents to yell at you. Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun? Naruto grit his teeth at the Pinkette's harsh words and clenched his fist tight. Why? I didn't even do anything to her. Before he could respond, however, Sasuke was the one that spoke up in a deadly whisper. The feeling of a parent yelling at you isn't even remotely comparable to what the dobe feels. Sakura gulped before nervously responding. What are you saying, Sasuke-kun? I was siding with you. Sasuke just shot her an icy glare. You're annoying, Sakura. With those words, he turned to Naruto. Come on, dobe. We don't have time for you to mope around all day. We need to get those bells. I'll trust your decision about teaming up. Let's go. Naruto looked up at Sasuke, a moment of understanding between them. Let's do it. Unfortunately, no sooner had the words left his mouth when the bell rang in the distance. The three genin found themselves near the logs that Kakashi had pointed out earlier. Naruto and Sasuke sat on the sides while Sakura was tied to the middle log. Kakashi just gazed at them lazily. Well, I'm disappointed. You guys failed to get a bell. Though Sasuke and Naruto did at least agree to work together. Might have been a fluke though. Let's find out. The three genin gazed at the older man, waiting for his verdict as he stared them down. Well, it looks like none of you need to go back to the academy, at least, Kakashi said, smiling a little at them. Naruto and Sakura immediately let out a cheer while Sasuke smirked. I love being a jonin sensei, Kakashi thought before he proceeded to crush their spirits. Instead, you should all be removed from the shinobi program. Instantly, the happy looks on the genin's faces turned to shock and anger. What? Came Sakura's screech. Why? Kakashi sent her a cold glare. Because none of you really saw the true purpose of the test till the end. Sasuke and Naruto stumbled across it, but even that wasn't understanding. Think for a moment. Have you ever heard of a genin squad with a jonin and two genin? Have you heard of any three-man squads, besides the Sannin? Naruto and Sasuke just stared blankly while Sakura let out a feeble mumble. This was a test about teamwork. Naruto and Sasuke turned to the tied-up girl and then looked back to their sensei, who nodded. Yes, and none of you did much. Naruto, you just charged me head on, not considering that you were vastly outmatched till after I beat you down. Sasuke, you thought yourself better than everyone and believed that you could take on a jonin alone. Sakura, you didn't even fight me at all. You just insulted your teammates. Chased after Sasuke, ignoring Naruto, who was available for you to help this whole time, and passed out a lot. Pathetic. All of you. You don't deserve to be ninja. Sasuke immediately charged the jonin, angrily pulling a kunai from his holster, only to find himself pinned to the ground with the same kunai at his neck in an instant. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Ninja have tough decisions to make. For example, Naruto kills Sakura. Naruto stared at Kakashi bewildered. What? Kakashi scoffed, letting Sasuke up. That's the kind of thing a ninja has to prepare for. Kakashi turned to the black rock memorial sitting behind him. This rock has the names of some of the most heroic people in Konoha. Naruto began cheering. Really? Really? I'm gonna get on that stone. Kakashi sighed. They're all Kia Naruto. They were killed during missions. Naruto's face fell. My best friend is on that stone. My other teammate is too. So is my sensei. Lots of people are on here. Remember this, ninja who break the rules are trash. But ninja who abandon their teammates are below trash. Naruto absorbed the words while making it internally. That's gonna be my new motto. Teammates are the best. Anyway, Kakashi said, turning back to the genin, I suppose I'll at least give you a second chance since two of you tried to team up. He tossed 2 bento boxes to the boys. You two are allowed to eat. Don't give Sakura any or you all fail. With those words, Kakashi shunshined away. As the boys started eating, Sakura's stomach growled loudly. Naruto turned to look up at her before turning to Sasuke. Team, is Sensei nearby? Sasuke looked at Naruto and sighed. He'd expected this. No. Here's Sakura. Eat. With those words, he offered his food to Sakura. I can't eat that, Sakura said. My hands are tied anyway. Sasuke stared at her, then turned to Naruto, who held up his hands. With a sigh, he turned to Sakura. I'll feed you. We need you at full strength. Naruto, keep watch. Naruto groaned. Don't order me around. Suddenly, there was a huge tornado out of which Kakashi popped out, causing Sasuke to flinch, frantically dropping the almost empty bento, and Naruto to scream and throw a kunai at the tornado. Kakashi simply grabbed the kunai before angrily yelling, I thought I told you not to feed Sakura. You all, pass. With that, Kakashi smiled at the genin. I told you to be about teammates. I'm so proud. Chapter 4. Flashback. Shut up, Baka. Didn't you hear what Sasuke-kun said? He doesn't need help from some no-name loser like you. You're just a class clown and a dead last moron. It's probably because you don't have parents to tell you right from wrong anyway. You don't even have to have annoying parents to yell at you. Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun? End flashback. Naruto sighed again, sitting in his dark room. He hadn't slept at all, with the memories of the previous day replayed in his head. Most of the day wasn't too bad, only reinforcing what the third Hokage had told him previously. He was incredibly weak for a ninja and incredibly stupid as well. The knowledge as a result didn't bother him. He was a little bothered that he couldn't even touch Kakashi despite all the work he'd put in. He couldn't even get the Jonin to stop reading his stupid book. Though neither could the Rookie of the Year. I guess that's what being a Jonin is about. Someday I'll have to be stronger. I can't do that if I stay the same. I'll have to get better faster. I wish there was a way to make up for all that lost time in the academy. Still, that wasn't the worst thing from the day before. Sakura's harsh words stuck to Naruto. The words were unnecessarily harsh for the moment and had made Naruto seriously rethink his crush on the pinkette. Besides, it was probably time to focus on becoming a real shinobi instead of girls anyway. At least Team and I had a moment of sorta understanding. With that final thought, Naruto stood and moved to his kitchen as the sun broke across the horizon, sending mild orange light spilling over Konoha. He reached into his cupboard, reaching for a cup of ramen. Unfortunately for him, though, there was no food in the cupboard. That's weird. I was sure there were at least 1 or 2 cups left in here. Naruto mumbled to himself. That would be correct, came a voice from behind him, prompting an embarrassingly girl shriek from the orange-clad genin. Kakashi sat at the small table in Naruto's kitchen, reading his orange book again. How's it going, Naruto? Good morning. Naruto stared at his new sensei while trying to calm his breathing. What are you doing here, sensei? I thought we weren't meeting till later today. Kakashi closed his book with a light snap and then placed 4 paper bags on Naruto's table. Well, like I told you, as long as I'm your sensei, I'm monitoring your diet to make you a better ninja. So I threw out all of your ramen, the 2 cups you had. Instead, I took your money and got you groceries. I will be doing this from now onward. Your mission pay will go primarily to food and the rest you'll get. Naruto sighed. Fine. Is this food for me now? Kakashi nodded. Do you know anything about cooking, Naruto? No. I can make instant ramen, but that's kind of it. Kakashi stood and moved to place a pan on the stove that Naruto had. I assumed so. So, I figured I could at least show you 1 or 2 simple things and start you toward cooking on your own. You can keep this pan and the spatula. With those words, Kakashi reached into a paper bag and removed a dozen eggs. You'll want to keep these cold, Naruto. They spoil fairly quickly. This should last you for a week, provided you use it only for breakfast or brunch. With those words, Kakashi set about showing Naruto how to use butter and 2 of the eggs to make scrambled eggs. After the food was done, Kakashi had Naruto sit at a table with him with the eggs and 2 pieces of toast and some bacon. As they sat and began to eat, Kakashi spoke. For lunches, I'll usually provide lunch during training, so you won't have to worry about that. Dinner, well, we'll work on making dinner later. I'll see if I can find you a cookbook for you to help with that too. Naruto tentatively scooped a spoonful of scrambled eggs into his mouth and nodded. This isn't that bad, sensei. With that, he began eating more quickly. Kakashi chuckled. Good. I thought you'd enjoy it. Now you know how to make some for yourself too. Now let's talk some training. What do you think you need to work on? Naruto looked up at the Jonin. I think I need to work on my overall skill, honestly. I think compared to Sasuke and Sakura, I'm pretty dumb. I'm lacking in a lot of the academy concepts and I'm pretty weak. I also pretty much only know 3 jutsu: Shadow Clone, Transformation, and Kawarimi. Kakashi nodded, pondering the words of his new student. All very true. Your taijutsu needs polish. Your genjutsu, from what Irika told me, is non-existent. You have potential in ninjutsu, but your chakra control needs work as well. From what I saw during the test, you have potential for tactics as well. We'll work on that. Tell me, what are you most interested in learning? Is there something you want to specialize in? Naruto nodded. I want to be a fairly good ninja overall, obviously, but I want to be really good at fuinjutsu and ninjutsu. Kakashi's eyebrow rose with surprise, just for an instant before he suppressed it. Fuinjutsu? You know, Naruto, that's one of the most complicated skills, right? Naruto nodded. Hokage-Aji-san told me. But all the previous Hokage were great at it and I heard you're decent too. It sounds like a good thing to understand. Kakashi nodded. I agree. First, though, you need to catch up to the rest of the team. How do you think that might be best done? Naruto pondered the question for a little while, as Kakashi sat patiently. He nibbled on his toast, which was also surprisingly good, before looking at Kakashi. I guess the best way would be for me to take extra time to relearn all the things I studied at the academy. Kakashi nodded again at the response. That's right. But how will you relearn 4 or more years' worth of information in a short time? Naruto frowned. I have no idea, sensei. What do you recommend? Again, Naruto caught Kakashi by surprise. He hadn't been expecting a question. He was expecting Naruto to rant about how much he'd work to catch up. Pleasantly surprised, Kakashi decided perhaps Naruto should know the truth behind the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Tell me, Naruto, do you know what the Shadow Clone Jutsu was originally designed for? No, I have no idea. It's not to make lots of you and fight. Kakashi chuckled. I don't think most people can make as many clones as you, Naruto. Even I can barely make 5. You just have a lot of chakra. The point of the Shadow Clone Jutsu is to spy. And the way that works is that everything your clone learns, when it dispels, it shares that knowledge with you and all the other clones. Do you understand? Naruto nodded. So, what you're saying is that if I and another clone studied something or practiced something, we could improve in half the time? Kakashi smiled, pleased that Naruto was learning quickly. Exactly, Naruto. Now imagine if you and 10 clones did the same practice. Or if you and 100 clones did the same practice. There are a few drawbacks. Things that build physical traits won't be passed by shadow clones. Muscle building, stamina building, and other physical traits won't improve since clones are chakra constructs. But you could read multiple books at once. You could improve chakra control or learn a jutsu faster. That's what we'll be using the clones for. You can also program them into your tactics. Got it? Naruto nodded eagerly. Yeah, I understand, sensei. One more thing. Whenever you dispel your clones, don't do it all at once. The sensory feedback could severely damage you. Do it at most in groups of 5. Seeing Naruto confirm his orders, Kakashi rose and placed his plate in the sink and placed the remaining groceries in the fridge for Naruto. Well, Naruto, I'll see you in around 2 hours at Training Ground 7. We'll train till lunch and then perhaps after do a few missions. See you soon. With those words, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving Naruto to contemplate the things he'd learned and to finish the rest of the breakfast that Kakashi made. Naruto made it to Training Ground 7 promptly 2 hours later, surprised to find the rest of his team already there. Kakashi-sensei, you aren't late today. Kakashi smiled in Naruto's direction. Well, Naruto, I figured that since today is our first day of training, I'd be responsible. With those words, he turned to the others and had them sit down in the grass. Also, since today's our first day officially training, I suppose I'll let you guys decide our schedule for the first half. Should we start with chakra control, physical training, or teamwork drills? Sakura muttered a quick word about whatever Sasuke-kun thought best as Sasuke and Naruto immediately turned to physical training. Kakashi, I smiled at the words before standing. Great! Then start with 50 push-ups. The 3 genin let out a mild groan at the words before setting out to finish the given task. Sasuke and Naruto easily finished the set but had to wait for Sakura, who only barely made it through the set before her arms gave out. As soon as Sakura finished, however, Kakashi was moving to the next task, 50 crunches. After crunches came 50 pull-ups using tree limbs. After those, 50 10-meter sprints. As the genin, now sweating, finished those and sat down or collapsed in the case of Sakura, Kakashi stood calmly, not even remotely sweaty after performing the exercises alongside the genin. Let's keep going. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. He barked to a loud groan from Sakura and mutters from the 2 boys. Let's spar next. I think that'll be a great practice. You'll learn something from each other too. The 3 genin looked up at their sensei. Sakura asked the question all of the genin were thinking. Who are we sparring, sensei? Kakashi smiled back at the 3 genin. Each other, of course. Sakura, you're a little too exhausted, so what you'll do is analyze the spar after it finishes. Every day, a different one of you will analyze and I'll provide input that you may have missed. I'll also proctor the spars. No ninjutsu is allowed. Only taijutsu. Sasuke and Naruto, you'll spar first. Naruto grinned before cheerily moving to a spot across from Sasuke. I'm gonna kick your ass, team. Sasuke just scoffed. You wish, dope. There's a reason why I'm the rookie of the year and you're the dead last. Ignoring the banter, which reminded him oddly of his own genin days, Kakashi stepped forward and signaled for the boys to start. As soon as Naruto saw the signal, he charged at Sasuke, throwing a clumsy right-handed punch that the Uchiha simply bat out of his way with his own right hand before stepping in and smashing his left fist into Naruto's face, sending him stumbling back. Before the blonde could respond, however, Sasuke was in his space, landing 3 harsh punches into his gut and then kicking the legs out from under Naruto, knocking Naruto to the ground. Before he could do much else, Naruto found himself pinned by Sasuke's knee, the Uchiha's right fist centimeters from his face. Break. Sasuke wins. Came Kakashi's voice as Naruto stood up slowly, still aching from the beat down that Sasuke gave him. What's wrong, dope? Thought you were gonna kick my ass, Sasuke said with a smirk. Naruto grit his teeth. Just wait till next time, team. Kakashi sighed at the rivalry before gesturing for both boys to sit. Then he turned to Sakura. What did you notice, Sakura? Remember, the goal here is to help Naruto improve. Sakura turned to Naruto. I think it was silly to charge in like that against a superior ninja Naruto. I think you should have tried to get him tired before you fought him knowing that he was better. Kakashi nodded. That's probably the best strategy, Naruto. It wasn't too fair a match since the level of taijutsu and the time spent training is vastly different. But, hopefully, it was a good experience for you. Then he turned to Sasuke. Well, Sasuke, it's time for your prize. Seeing Sasuke's eyes light up, excited at the mention of a fight, Kakashi had to suppress a sadistic giggle. You get to spar me. Naruto and Sakura observe closely now. In a few seconds, Sasuke lay on the ground groaning in pain as Kakashi stood with one leg on top of him. That's how you do it. You just hit him hard as soon as he misses and follow the initial hit with combinations. Now back to more working out. Give me 50 more push-ups, all of you. That earned the loud groan from all three genin Kakashi had been looking for. By noon, when Kakashi announced the lunch break, the three genin looked ready to drop. Naruto, even with his intense stamina, looked beat up, a result of multiple spars with Sasuke. Sakura looked like she wasn't going to be able to move for a week, and Sasuke looked similar to Naruto except with more dirt on his face. Great, that was a productive morning, Kakashi said with a smile. Let's get some lunch and then we'll talk about what's next there. It'll be my treat, so what do you guys want to eat? Immediately Naruto was on his feet. Ramen. I haven't had any in 2 days. We have to have ramen. Sakura groaned. No way. Ramen is gross and fatty. I just want a salad. Cha. I'm already going to get all gross and bulky from this stupid training. Sasuke-kun's really gonna lose all interest in me then. Kakashi turned to Sasuke. You, Sasuke? Ramen sounds good to me. Kakashi nodded sagely before turning back to the group. Sounds like Sasuke wants ramen too. Lead the way, Naruto. Naruto just stared for a second, shocked that Kakashi could interpret the grunts from Sasuke before shrugging and walking quickly towards Ichiraku ramen stand. As the three genin sat slurping on their ramen, or nibbling in Sakura's case, Kakashi explained the mission ranking system to them. There's 5 real categories that you need to worry about now that you're ninja. D-rank missions are the most basic. They're assigned to fresh genin and occasionally to final year academy students who show promise. These missions are simple, not too dangerous at all, and are intended to build teamwork in teams and provide time for you to get to know each other without the stress of the field. This provides the benefit of earning income for the village and helping people in the village as well. Looking around to make sure all 3 ninja understood, Kakashi continued. C-rank missions are the next rank. They have some threat to them, usually of contact with bandits or another group of genin who may be trying to reach the opposite conclusion to what we were hired for. These missions are the start to combat. Genin are mostly assigned C-rank and D-rank missions. Rarely, genin are eligible for B-rank. B-rank missions are missions that involve direct conflict with other ninja, most of whom will be chunin in rank. These missions are given to chunin and jonin. Jonin also have a final mission type, a rank. These are the hardest missions given to most ninja and almost always involve conflict between squads of jonin or important documents between the villages. The final mission type are S-rank missions. These are given only to the elite jonin and umbu. Occasionally, S-ranks appear that only the Hokage is strong enough to take up. That should give you an idea about how tough they are. Again, Kakashi paused to give his students time to digest their information. Sakura, eat that ramen a bit faster. We have missions to do and we aren't leaving till you finish your bowl. Sakura scowled at her sensei before eating a little more quickly from her bowl of vegetable ramen. Kakashi suppressed a sigh at the girl's attitude. We're gonna have to work on that. Maybe I'll get Sasuke to help me. Anyway, since we're a brand new team, we'll be assigned D-rank missions. In general, a genin team is expected to finish a certain number of D-rank missions before they can begin to take C-rank missions. At first, you'll have to do a certain number of D ranks between each C rank, but that'll eventually dwindle and you'll be asked to frequently take on C ranks and maybe even the occasional B rank. Kakashi said, finishing the last of his ramen without ever removing his mask. The three genin quickly finished the remainder of their lunch and then began to walk with Kakashi towards the Hokage's office building to receive their mission for the day. As they walked, Naruto began to bombard Kakashi with questions. So, Sensei, how many missions are we allowed to take in one day? Kakashi kept walking as he responded. I suppose, Naruto, that we can do as many as we want. I however want to keep missions down to 2 hours for now. In that time, theoretically we could finish a lot of missions if you used your shadow clones though. Just don't overdo it because after missions, we'll be training again. Naruto nodded, taking the idea into consideration. Just the training earlier was tiring enough without me using any clones or much chakra at all. I'll probably conserve most of my chakra. So, how many missions would we have to do before our first C-rank mission? Kakashi ran a hand through his hair. 20 is the usual number for ninja. Assuming we do a mission a day, it'll take about a month. We probably will not do a mission a day. We'll probably take a few days off from them to train harder or engage in drills with other teams. Naruto nodded as the team walked into the office where the missions were given away. As he walked in, he greeted the old Hokage enthusiastically. Hey old man, what's up? As he did, Irika angrily yelled from beside the Hokage. Naruto, he's the Hokage. Show some respect. Sakura also smacked him on the head roughly, knocking him to the ground. Geez, Naruto, you can't just call the Hokage an old man. Naruto groaned as Kakashi sighed and Sasuke continued to brood quietly. He hadn't gotten any of his quota for the day. With that, the team got their first mission. Weeding a garden? Really? Naruto said as he pulled weeds from the older lady's yard. That's part of being a genin, Naruto. We all had to do it. Kakashi said from the tree branch he was reclining on reading his orange book. Naruto rolled his eyes. They continued to work in the yard, which turned out to take most of the 2 hours that Kakashi planned for since Naruto didn't want to use the shadow clone jutsu in case he would need the extra chakra for the training after. After the mission was complete and the team finished reporting to the Hokage and receiving their meager pay for the job, 5,000 yen. With that, the team made its way back to Training Ground 7. As the team relaxed with cold bottles of water as Kakashi explained the next phase of their training. So, now I think we should all work on individual things. So, you guys tell me what you want to work on, Kakashi said to the three genin. What do you mean, sensei? Sakura said, looking up at Kakashi. Kakashi sighed again. I really didn't consider how oblivious the fangirl would be. Hopefully she'll understand with some explanation. What I mean, Sakura, is that you guys have to decide what you want to focus on right now. You guys will tell me what that is and I'll try to teach you or to find you a teacher who might be better suited than I can be. Kakashi said, pulling out what looked like a small stack of post-it notes as he spoke. So, what do each of you want to work on? Let's start with Sasuke. Sasuke looked at Kakashi for a second then spoke. I want to learn some new jutsu. That's not quite what I meant, Sasuke. You'll all slowly start learning jutsu anyway. I meant learning a specialized style of things. There's quite a few things along those lines that you can probably work on to distinguish you from other ninja till you unlock your Sharingan, at least. Sasuke looked up considering for a moment before speaking again. The Sharingan is really good for Jinjutsu, right? Kakashi nodded. Yeah, the Uchiha were really good at it. I guess I'll do that. Kakashi smiled at Sasuke. Great. I'm pretty skilled at that one, and once you advance I know someone who can teach you a lot more than I can too. With that, he turned to Naruto. So, Naruto, what about you? I know we talked about this earlier, but I want you to choose something else besides the thing you told me about earlier. Naruto nodded. At some point, I'm going to get you to teach me how you translate the team's grunts. I think the other thing I want to work on right now is taijutsu. Like you said, mine is pretty bad and I don't really have a style and I don't like the academy style we're taught. Kakashi nodded at that. I'm decent at taijutsu, but I know someone better for teaching you. Our styles wouldn't meld. Sakura? Sakura thought for a moment before smiling at Kakashi. My academy grades said Genjutsu would be best for me too. So why not that? Cha! I get to get closer to Sasuke-kun now. I'll show him how good I am at this and then he'll fall in love with me. Kya! Kakashi sighed. Damn. I didn't think she'd wanna just copy Sasuke. Time to come up with a good excuse. Well, Sakura, that would narrow the ability scale of the team. If we have two talented Genjutsu users and we face a better Genjutsu user, we'd be outdone too quickly. So, let's build some more balance. Try something else. Sakura's face fell as she pondered again. I guess I'll choose medical jutsu so that we have someone to heal the team. Kakashi frowned. I suppose that's a good choice. I'll try to find someone who can teach you that better than I can, but I know a few things about that too. Kakashi then passed each of the genin a piece of the paper that he'd removed before. What's this, sensei? Sakura asked. Is sensei crazy? First he keeps me from getting close to Sasuke-kun and now he's handing us post-it notes. That, Sakura, is an elemental affinity paper. It's to help determine what element of jutsu would be best suited to you. He held up a piece of paper of his own and began channeling chakra to it. Watch what happens as I channel chakra to it. The paper crumpled immediately. This indicates a lightning affinity. Let's see what you guys get. Sakura, you start. Sakura began channeling chakra into her paper and it immediately turned to dust. What does that mean, sensei? You have an earth affinity, Sakura. Well done. That's a great defensive style which will fit your medical ninjutsu well. You made a good choice with the speciality you wanted. Cha! I'm a badass. Now to win Sasuke-kun's heart. Great, sensei. I'm glad to hear that. Sakura said, giggling as she thought about all the things she and Sasuke would do after she impressed him. Kakashi moved forward to Naruto. You next. Naruto didn't immediately start. Can we have more than one affinity? Is that a thing? Kakashi nodded. Yes. In fact, even after a dominant affinity shows, you can build a second and third one. Some shinobi build even more. For example, Hokage-sama has the ability to use all 5 naturally. In fact, most jonin are required to have at least 2 affinities. Naruto nodded and began channeling chakra into the paper. As he moved his hands away, the paper showed to have shredded into many little scraps. That affinity is wind. Kakashi spoke up. It's the most offensive of the 5 basic elements and is great for close-range combat and further ranges as well. It's also great for combination jutsu with other shinobi. Naruto grinned and Kakashi turned to Sasuke, who was already channeling chakra into his paper. Unlike the other 2 ninja, Sasuke's paper first crumpled then burned into ashes. Kakashi smiled. Well, it seems one of us has 2 affinities. Sasuke smirked at his teammates, especially Naruto, who looked rather jealous. Kakashi ignored the clear rivalry. You have fire and lightning. Fire is common for Uchiha and so is lightning, so that'll work great. I'm well versed in both. He took a sip from his drink before continuing his lecture. Now, each of the elements has a strength and weakness. Starting with earth. Earth is strong against water style but is weak to lightning. Lightning is strong against earth but weak against wind. At this, Naruto shot Sasuke a triumphant smile and the other boy scowled. Wind is weak against fire and strong against lightning. Here Sasuke smirked at a dejected Naruto. Fire is weak against water and strong against wind. Water is weak against earth and strong against fire. It's straightforward. The 3 genin nodded their understanding. Now then, let's get training. I'll explain what each of you is to do and then monitor your progress. Let's start. Kakashi had the 3 move about 100 feet of each other and then stood in the middle. Then he began to call out orders. Sakura, medical ninjutsu requires great stamina to perform. So, start by doing 20 laps around the training ground. Sakura groaned before taking off at a moderate pace. As she did, Kakashi moved to Naruto. He reached into his pouch and removed paper, a brush, and some ink. Here, Naruto, Fuinjutsu requires perfect handwriting. So, I want you to work on your handwriting. Here's a template of things I want you to start copying." Naruto groaned at his own work before sitting down with it. "It's like the academy all over again." Kakashi chuckled before turning to Sasuke. "You're going to be placed in genjutsu over and over till we stop training. Your job is to get out of it. Ready or not, here I come." Sasuke saw Kakashi fly through some hand seals and then promptly passed out. By the time that Kakashi called a break to the training, the three genin all looked like they'd been attacked. Naruto was holding his aching wrist, which had cramped from the immense writing that he was unadjusted to. Every time he'd stopped writing, Kakashi had thrown a dull kunai that smacked him on his arms, creating bruises all over them. Sakura looked like she'd been forced to live in the wilderness for a month. Every time she slowed down, Kakashi had a shadow clone chase her, smacking the backs of her legs with a thin, whip-like reed. The worst, however, was Sasuke, who had clearly struggled to undo whatever genjutsu had been placed on him. He sat on the ground, curled into a fetal position, whimpering. It was such an unexpected sight that Naruto and Sakura both avoided asking about the content of the genjutsu. Kakashi smiled at his students. "Wasn't that fun, guys?" he said excitedly, earning a loud groan from all three students. "We'll do this pretty much every day from now on. I'll introduce other things slowly, but for the first 2 weeks, we'll follow this schedule. Now head home, get some food and rest. Don't forget to eat properly, because if you're missing calories, you won't be able to handle the training." Chapter 5. The next few weeks passed in the same way for the young genin of Team 7, rigorous training followed by missions, which were followed by more intense training. The three found themselves exhausted each day, but their improvement was immense under Kakashi's tutelage. Sasuke had opened up a little more, grunting less, but still grunting often, and speaking to his teammates. He continued to improve at sparring, often winning the matches that were held and as a result having to spar Kakashi. His respect for his teammates also grew, after Sakura suddenly kneed him the face during a sparring match, sending him toppling, and after Naruto had forced him to submission once. He did vow never to let them do anything that embarrassing again, though. Besides this, he'd finally learned to resist the genjutsu placed on him by Kakashi and started learning sleight sense, altering genjutsu from the scarecrow like ninja. Kakashi also had him learn more fire-style jutsu to develop his affinity to the fire style. Sakura had also developed into a more able ninja. Kakashi's stern physical demands and the better diet meant that she developed more muscle, which let her endure the training for longer periods. Of course, as she improved, so did Kakashi's demands. Besides her stamina and physicality, Sakura also learned basic medical procedure for healing small cuts and scratches from Kakashi. She also learned 2 new Earth-style jutsu to make her a well-rounded individual. One of them was Earth-style Earth Wall, which allowed her to create a quick 8-foot wall of rock that was reinforced. The other was Earth-style Flying Thrown Rocks, which fires a series of rocks from the ground at whomever the user chose. Best of all, Kakashi had managed to slowly beat the fangirl out of Sakura and impress on her the importance of training by reminding her occasionally that Sasuke would prefer a strong kunoichi. The girl was still a huge fangirl and still a screeching banshee at times, but her demeanor changed and she did treat Naruto slightly better as well. Naruto had perhaps the most definite improvements. After Kakashi told Naruto about the shadow clone technique, Naruto quickly began using them to catch up to the others. He found that he could always spare enough chakra for 2 clones before training and still make it through Kakashi's training without collapsing. This let him quickly build up his taijutsu to a passable level, allowing him to no longer lose to Sakura consistently in sparring and to even occasionally beat Sasuke. Naruto's mind also sharpened immensely as he had the 2 clones read as much as possible, and on the rare off days Kakashi gave, to make 50 or so clones read as well. Unlike the other 2 ninja, however, Naruto was stuck attempting to cut leaves with wind chakra because Kakashi refused to teach Naruto any jutsu till he had passable control with the chakra to make sure the jutsu didn't backfire onto him or one of his teammates. Luckily, Naruto understood the importance of the training and worked to cut the leaves with diligence, already managing to place a rough cut into half of a leaf. His ability in Fuinjutsu had sped along as well. With the help of the book that the Hokage gave him and the teaching of Kakashi, Naruto could now write neatly and thus was beginning to make his own seals, although he could only really manage basic explosive tags and silencing seals for the time. The team had also been trained in tree walking, as Kakashi felt that the sooner he could develop chakra control in his students, the more he could teach them in the long run. He also instructed them in basic teamwork drills and maneuvers to have them begin to gain experience working together. Often, he'd have the three of them use these maneuvers to fight himself and occasionally have each ninja develop a plan of action to improve their tactics. Naruto showed the most potential in this field, leading Kakashi to understand why his pranks worked so well during his academy days. The team had also begun to complete D-rank missions at an alarming rate. The first 2 weeks, the team had taken on only one mission per day, but as time passed, Naruto began to employ small teams of clones to start helping, and the team was finishing 3 or 4 missions. This is ramen. I'm in position. Duck but in position. I vote that we never let ramen choose the codenames again. This is flour in position. I agree. Ramen. I can't believe you gave him that codename. You'll have to get used to it. The mission leader often gives out the codenames. This is Scarecrow. Do you confirm that's the target? Yeah. I see the red ribbon on the ear. Ramen confirms too. Same here for flour. Okay team, move in. Naruto and Sasuke jumped out from the bushes to confront their target, who quickly changed directions and ran only to bump into Sakura. It tried to run again, only to be tackled by both the boys, who quickly tied the cat up with ninja wire. This is ramen. We've got the target. Confirm again that it is in fact that target. Scarecrow, this is flour. It is the target. Great. Let's meet back at the Hokage's office to report with the target. As the team prepared to move back, Naruto noticed that the cat had escaped the wire and slowly began to try to escape. Before it could though, Naruto picked it up and with a quick yell of "Team, think fast," threw the cat into Sasuke's face. Mreo! The 3 genins stood with Kakashi in the Hokage's office as a fat lady squeezed the cat. Oh my poor Tora-chan. I missed you so much. No wonder the cat runs away so much. Naruto thought as he watched the feline get fanatically trying to escape the clutches of the daimyo's wife. Yes, feel the pain, you stupid cat. How dare you mar my perfect face? Sasuke thought as he chuckled maniacally, while Sakura worked to heal the 3 red scratches on his cheek. Good job, Team 7. 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's pretty great time for catching Tora. I think that puts you as second on the record board for capture time. Sarutobi said as he shuffled through some papers. Did you want another mission, Kakashi, or would you like to wait and return to training? Kakashi pondered for a moment before speaking up. I think for today we will stop with missions. There are some important things I need to discuss with my team. Sarutobi nodded. Very well. Have a good day. Thank you all for your hard work. With the dismissal, Team 7 left the office and quickly made their way to Training Ground 7. What's going on, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. What did you need to talk to us about? Kakashi motioned for the team to sit down. Have you realized how many missions we've completed? Naruto spoke up. Yeah, I kept track. We just finished our 25th D rank. Is that why Hokage Aji-sen asked if we wanted a new mission? Kakashi nodded. That's right. So, tomorrow I think we'll take a C rank mission. In the meantime, since it'll be a big one tomorrow, we'll train a bit and then I'll go over what kinds of things you should pack. The 3 genin nodded. HN. What kind of training are we doing today? Well, Sasuke, I think we'll keep on with the chakra control training. You and Naruto can only make it about halfway before you stop being able to control your chakra. Sakura, you've gotten much further, but you don't have the stamina, so keep walking up and down the tree. You can take a break between every lap. The 3 genin nodded and then made their way to begin walking. As you do that, I'll go over some things you should be aware of, Kakashi said, settling down to read while he observed his students. This mission you'll probably be required to kill. If you are, do it. It's better for you to kill them than for them to kill you or a teammate. In combat, keep each other's back, especially because bandits are known to try to outnumber shinobi in order to win. Got it, came the voices of the three genin. The supplies you'll need to bring are standard B rank supplies. Because we don't know how long we'll be gone, it's best to stock up on extra things rather than what would simply be required for a C rank. Remember that over-preparation is better than under-preparation. Standard B rank supplies are 300 kunai, 300 shuriken, 100 explosive tags, about 100 feet of ninja wire, a standard medical first aid kit consisting of bandages, gauze, tongue depressors to use for splints and floss, for empty sealing scrolls, and of course extra sets of clothing and bedrolls. All of your equipment should be stored in a marked 5th sealing scroll. Set aside about 50 kunai, shuriken, and 10 explosive tags in your pouch. You'll have a bag to put anything extra you want in. Again, the genin nodded their understanding as they trained. Naruto and Sasuke were slowly nearing the 3/4 mark on the tree, and Sakura was barely completing her first lap and preparing to take a short break. Kakashi continued to review basic tactics and team formations as the team worked. 2 hours passed with the training. Naruto and Sasuke were nearing the top of the tree, competing constantly with each other. The competition provided a healthy route for the genin to improve, in Kakashi's opinion, as both boys worked hard to beat the other. Sakura had been able to improve quickly as well, finishing 6 laps whereas before she could hardly manage 4. Proud of his achievements in improving his team, Kakashi took a moment to congratulate himself for a brief moment and looked up. As he did, however, he saw something fairly alarming. A messenger hawk from the Hokage circled overhead before swooping down onto his now outstretched arm. It dropped a scroll bearing the official seal of the Hokage into his other palm and flew off back to its station. Kakashi opened the scroll, fluidly tearing the wax seal on the outside, and analyzed the coded message quickly. Scan once now, read twice later. The motto his own sensei had taught him for reading messages hung in his mind. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, stop. Come over here. We've got an important mission. As he did, the 3 genin quickly made their way to their sensei's location. What's up, sensei? I thought we weren't taking any more missions today, Sakura asked. That's usually right, Sakura. But sometimes the Hokage may send out a mission if it's important enough. Now, I've got the general information here. Let's go get dinner and I'll brief you guys over the meal. The genin nodded. So, ramen, right? Naruto said. No way, Baka. At least let our last meal before an important mission be something a little healthier. Come on, Sakura. It's not like we need something healthy really with all our training. You aren't going to get fat just because you ate a bowl of ramen. That was a big change for the team too. Naruto no longer called Sakura with the honorific, Chan, which shocked her when he suddenly stopped about a week after the formation of the team. I wonder if I did something, she thought. No way. He's probably just trying to make us feel guilty, so he can steal us from Sasuke-kun. HN. I agree with Sakura today, actually. We had ramen for lunch. Sensei, why don't you pick? I suppose so, Sasuke, Kakashi said, earning the same weird look Naruto always gave him when he interpreted Sasuke's grunts. Sasuke says he thinks we should eat something different since we had ramen for lunch. How do you understand what he's saying? Naruto yelled. Someday I'll teach you. For now, let's go eat some sushi. As the team sat in a decent sushi place that Kakashi brought them to and began to eat, Kakashi began to review the details of the mission. 2 days ago, Team 8 and Team 10 accepted a joint C-rank mission. It appears that certain genin on both teams became impatient with the D-rank missions and as a result were given a collaboration mission to ensure that things could go better. It was an escort mission for a bridge builder to the Land of Waves, a small island. On the way there, however, the Team 18, as we'll call them, encountered a team of Chunin who were attempting to assassinate the bridge builder. The bridge builder appears to have lied about the nature of the mission due to finances. Kurenai, the leader of Team 8, interrogated the 3 Chunin and has determined that they were hired by Gatu, the shipping tycoon who is currently the dictator of the Land of Waves, to prevent the building of a land connection to the poor country. A land connection would ruin his hold on the island and provide access to trade for the people. The 3 genin all had pieces of paper on which they were scribbling notes, hastily writing important details to study. Kakashi smiled proudly, pleased that they had absorbed that lesson from him. Because we know that the enemy will have understood that the Chunin failed, the next assassin sent after the bridge builder, Tazuna-san, will be a Jonin or a group of Jonin, which would prove difficult even for 2 Jonin to handle, while with Genin that may need defending. What rank do you think this mission will be? HN. An A-rank mission. A team of Jonin plus other Jonin on Jonin combat. Good job, Sasuke, Kakashi said with another smile. I'm glad you remembered my lecture. Sensei, what the hell did team say? Oh, that's right. He said a rank because there's 3 Jonin, enough for a small team, and Jonin on Jonin combat. That makes sense. Sasuke-kun is so smart, Sakura said, batting her eyes in the brooding Uchiha's direction. Anyway, Kakashi continued, this is why we're being assigned. We will provide backup to the teams currently on the mission and will stay with Tazuna till the bridge is complete. Because this is an A-rank mission, we'll have to redo our plan. You need to get enough supplies for 2 A-rank missions. Here's what that consists of. Kakashi handed the 3 genin small pieces of paper with the needed supplies written on it. Besides this, we'll require some extra prep. Naruto, can you send a few clones to read up on the Land of Waves? It'll be beneficial to have a ninja on the team who's an expert. Also bring your sealing supplies. It's always good to have those. Sure, Sensei. Sakura, get bonus medical supplies since you're probably best equipped for it. You'll have to look after Team 8 and 10 too. The Pinkette nodded while scribbling the orders down onto the sheet that had all the other important information. Sasuke, I want you to procure some extra tools such as smoke bombs and flash bombs. Also procure a pack of soldier pills to make sure that we have a tool for continuing when tired. Sasuke grunted his approval. Great. It's currently 6:32 p.m. We'll meet promptly at 5 a.m. and get a second briefing directly from the Hokage. Understood. Hi, Sensei, the 3 genin said, and then immediately took off to complete their required tasks. The 3 genin sat on a bench in front of the Hokage's office. Where the hell is Sensei? Naruto yelled. It's 8 in the morning. He's 3 hours late for an A-rank mission. Sakura nodded. You'd think he'd be on time for our first big mission at least. Sasuke grunted. HN. Team, you know that none of us can understand your stupid grunts. Naruto baka, don't talk to Sasuke-kun like that. As they argued, a puff of smoke appeared in front of them as Kakashi appeared. Yo! You're late, Naruto and Sakura yelled at Kakashi. Sorry. I was leaving my house when a black cat crossed my path, and so I had to take the long way around when an old lady was trying to cross the street, so I helped her cross the street before she turned out to be a spy from another village, so I had an epic fight to the death and then had to finish taking the long way here. Liar! The 2 yelled again. Anyway, let's go meet the Hokage, Kakashi said with an eye smile and began walking into the office. After a short briefing with the Hokage, who simply informed the team that Team 18 had backtracked to a small town 4 hours away with Tazuna, the team took off quickly, moving to reinforce the others. Kakashi had the team run without using chakra to enhance their movements because the drain would prevent the team from fighting effectively if any enemies showed up suddenly. The team didn't face much trouble at all and easily made their way to the town where Team 18 was stationed. Sensei, how do we know where the others are stationed? Aji-san didn't tell us. Naruto muttered to Kakashi. I suppose you didn't notice, but Kurenai and Asuma left subtle signs around about where they are. They're in that hotel there. Room 22, which is located on the 2nd floor, is where Tazuna is with the genin. Kurenai and Asuma are currently walking around town picking up extra information. Let's head to the room. With that, the genin quietly made their way into the hotel, a small quiet building that was made largely out of wood. It was pleasant if nothing else, with a small lobby with a fireplace, hot springs available to customers, and decent enough rooms. Kakashi approached the desk and purchased 2 rooms. One for himself and the 2 boys and another for Sakura and potentially the other girls. After that, he took the team to room 22 and knocked on the door, rhythmically tapping 4 times, then 3, then 5, then 1. There was some shuffling inside, a happy voice that Sakura recognized as Ino's that exclaimed, and the door flew open. Inside, the 6 genin and Tazuna sat waiting. Kiba yelled happily, "Woohoo! It's a reunion!" At the same time, Ino tackled Sasuke yelling, "Sasuke-kun, did you miss me?" Naruto turned quickly to talk to Kakashi only to find a log with a note in its place. "Naruto, I've gone to find Asuma and Kurenai and gather information with them. I'm placing you in charge of the genin till we get back. Pick out your lieutenants and get some more defensive positioning set up. Privately with Sasuke and Sakura, start coming up with emergency scenarios. I'm leaving it to you." Naruto's sweat dropped at the note, then looked back up at the mess in front of him. "Why did Sensei leave me in charge? Lazy bastard." Naruto looked back up at the loud genin in front of him. Kiba was loudly bragging to Sasuke about his improvements, while the other boys stood uncomfortably as Sakura tried to pry a yelling Ino off him. Choji and Shikamaru sat quietly munching on chips, and Shino was trying to quiet Kiba. Hinata shyly hid behind Shino. An old man sat behind the group, drinking from a bottle of wine. "Damn, I wish Irika-sensei taught me his big head jutsu. I'll have to ask him about it next time." "Oi, shut up!" Naruto yelled at the genin in front of him. "What are you stupid assholes doing? We're on a fucking mission, not a class reunion. You're just throwing up a huge fucking sign to the enemy about where we are, and none of you have your guard up, so that stupid old bridge builder is gonna get assassinated right under our noses." The genin quieted down for a moment before Kiba and Ino started again. "Shut up dead last. Who put you in charge? Yeah, seriously, as if you get to give us orders, Naruto Baka. If anything, Sasuke-kun should be in charge." Naruto groaned and then held up his note. "Kakashi-sensei put me in charge. We're acting as a platoon. Since the sensei aren't around, someone had to be designated in charge, and I was chosen. I get to pick 2 people who'll be second to me till the sensei place another group in charge. I choose Sasuke and Sakura obviously, since I can trust them to do what's needed." Kiba spoke up again. "That's dumb. Why would a jonin put you in charge? You're a dead last loser." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Fine, don't follow orders. When the jonin get back, I'll report that you didn't, and we can watch you get put back in the academy." Kiba paled and quietly stepped back. "Yeah, that's what I thought. Now let's get some better defenses set up. Team 10, you guys guard the window. Team 8, you guys are sensors, so keep your senses up for anyone who isn't one of the jonin sensei within a 30-foot radius of us. We'll keep by the door. Sasuke, Sakura, I need to talk to you." After the rough opening, the genin organized themselves in the places as Naruto ordered and much more quietly picked up in conversation. Ino ranted in a whisper to Shikamaru and Choji. "How dare that stupid dead last talk to us like that? I bet the sensei didn't even put him in charge. He's stupid arrogant, and he's separated me from Sasuke-kun too. Forehead already had too much time with him." "Troublesome," came the reply from the pineapple-haired shinobi. "Just let it go, Ino. It doesn't matter, and he made a good point." "Yeah, Munch Shika's right, Ino. It's not much a big deal. The big-boned," Akamichi said. Kiba was similarly ranting to his teammates. "I can't believe the moron is in charge." Shino pushed his glasses closer to his nose. "Perhaps you will have other chances to show your prowess than Kiba." "Yeah, KK Kiba-kun. I'm sure you'll get another chance soon," Hinata said, staring at Naruto. "Though it is really good to see Naruto-kun again. I hope he didn't fall more in love with Sakura." 2 hours passed in similar fashion. After making an emergency escape plan with Sasuke, Naruto spent the rest of his time talking to Tazuna, absorbing any information that the old man would give him. He found the bridge builder annoying, since the man seemed to have no faith in the genin, but he was at least informative. From the information, Naruto understood the poor condition, economically and morale-wise, of the place they were going to. He understood the purpose of this mission more now. That would help with his own determination for success. The genin tensed slowly as the door opened, but most of them relaxed when the three jonin walked in. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stayed tense. "Identify yourself," Naruto said, drawing a kunai. "Naruto baka, can't you see that there are sensei?" Ino asked angrily. "Ino, how do you know that when the transformation jutsu exists?" Sasuke asked suddenly. Ino tried to stutter a response while Naruto pressed again. "Identify yourself or we will respond as if you were an enemy." Kakashi held up his hands. "I'm Kakashi Hatake with Kurenai Yuhi and Asuma Sarutobi. I'm the sensei of Team 7 and I happen to know that the last time you ate at Ichiraka's ramen, you ate 13 bowls of ramen exactly, which cost me 10,400 yen. Naruto nodded. "Who is my hero that you know pretty well?" Kakashi, I smiled. "That would be my father." Naruto nodded again and relaxed as the other genin in the room looked at him with surprise. "Welcome back, sensei. Hi, Asuma-sensei and Kurenai-sensei." The jonin standing behind Naruto greeted him while Kakashi stepped forward and looked around. "Good job with organizing and with questions, guys. Especially you, Naruto." Naruto grinned and rubbed the back of his head. "It was nothing, sensei. What's the plan now?" Asuma spoke up gruffly. "Now we move out. We couldn't get much information about who hired the demon brothers other than Gatu. We don't know who they'll send next. So we need to prepare to deal with a jonin or multiple ones." Kurenai produced a map quickly. "We'll move across the ocean from the next town. It's about an hour out. That's the first point where there might be an ambush. After we cross, there's a small lake. Assuming that the next ninja will also be a missing nin from the Mist Village, that's the next spot. We'll have to be extra careful there." Tazuna gruffly looked around. "Well, I suppose you brats will have to be on guard from now on. You'd better not let me die." With those words, he walked out the door, followed quickly by the jonin and the genin who mumbled angrily at the bridge builder. Surprisingly, for Naruto and Team 7, the trip across the ocean was fairly straightforward. The three teams crossed in 3 separate boats. One boat had the real Tazuna and the other 2 carried clones of Naruto transformed to look like Tazuna. As they finished crossing under the bridge and made it to land, the teams began moving towards Tazuna's house, dispelling the clones to save some chakra as needed. "My house isn't too far now," Tazuna said quietly and soberly, the first time Naruto had seen the old man without alcohol. "It's only about another half-hour walk to the lake and another 15 minutes from there to my house." Kakashi and the other jonin nodded, keeping their senses high as they approached the lake. Naruto and the other genin also remained alert, intent on not messing up their first major mission by having the client killed in front of them. As the lake came into sight, Naruto picked up on some sounds from the bushes nearby. Reacting on instinct, he threw a kunai into the bush. "What the hell, dead last?" Kiba yelled. "Don't try to show off." Ignoring the yell, Naruto checked the bushes to find a white bunny that the kunai had barely missed. "Look at that, Naruto baka. You scared a poor rabbit. Stop trying to be like Sasuke-kun," Ino said, rolling her eyes. Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. "I thought I felt some killing intent." As he did, Kakashi carefully examined the rabbit. "Wait a second. It's springtime. There's no white rabbits in the spring. Kawarimi no jutsu." He quickly looked at Kurenai and Asuma and saw they'd reached the same conclusion. As they did, he heard a whooshing noise coming from behind him. "Get down!" Kakashi yelled as he tackled the 2 closest people to him, Tazuna and Shino. Asuma grabbed Shikamaru and Choji and shoved them to the ground as Kurenai did the same with Hinata and Kiba. Sasuke grabbed Sakura, not trusting her slower reflexes, and pulled her down as he dropped. Ino was tackled by Naruto, moments before a large sword flew spinning over their heads before impaling itself into a tree. As the ninja looked up, they saw a tall man standing on the handle of the sword. The man had short black hair and his mouth was covered by bandages. He wore no shirt but had weirdly camo arm warmers and leg warmers. His headband was tied at an angle and wore the mark of the village hidden in the mist. The The band had a scratch on the plate marking the ninja as a missing nin. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, what a surprise to see you here. Kakashi spoke up. Naruto noticed that all three jonin had tensed visibly. This guy must be something serious for all three sensei to be tense about the fight. So, you've heard about me, the ninja standing in the tree said. I've heard of you too. Kakashi Hatake, the man feared as Kakashi of the Sharingan. When I was in the Mist Country, our bingo books had kill on sight and flee on sight orders for you. And the man behind you, Asuma Sarutobi, with the same orders. How terrifying. I don't recognize the girl though. Sasuke froze in shock and turned to look at Kakashi. Kakashi of the Sharingan? What? We shouldn't play around too long, so I'll get serious right away, Kakashi said as he raised his headband, revealing a red eye with 3 spinning tomo. The Sharingan already? I'm honored, Zabuza said laughing. He does have the Sharingan. How? Where did he get it from? PSSST. Sasuke. Naruto's voice interrupted the brooding. What's the Sharingan? Sasuke turned to Naruto and began in a quiet voice. It's the Kekkei Genkai of the Uchiha clan. It's a jujutsu that allows the user to copy jutsu and to predict the opponent's movements. I don't know how Kakashi-sensei got it though. So, this fight should be over fast? Maybe. The fact that he's using it already must mean this guy is pretty tough. Zabuza held up his hands and began forming seals as Asuma barked at the genin to defend Tizuna. Kurenai prepared to place Zabuza in a genjutsu as Kakashi began copying the hand seals. Before anyone could start fighting, however, 3 senbon hit Zabuza in the neck, knocking him from the tree. A few meters away, a swirl of ice and water revealed a boy about the age of the genin, wearing a white mask with red marking and the symbol of the hidden mist. Thank you for distracting him long enough for me to get him. I have been tracking Zabuza for quite a long time. Kakashi stepped forward, covering his eye and checked the pulse on Zabuza. He's dead, he announced to the others. He drew a kunai and stabbed both of the dead ninja's arms. Yeah, the blood pressure is lower too. He stood back up and then moved away. Thank you for your help, Hunter Ninja-san. The Hunter Ninja picked up Zabuza's body and disappeared in a swirl of ice and water. Kakashi turned to the genin, who were still shocked by the fact that a ninja appearing their age killed a jonin. Well, Tizuna-san, off to your house we go. The ninja escorted Tizuna to his house without any problems, and they quickly set about organizing defenses around the house. The jonin stopped to talk to Tizuna and his daughter, Tsunami, explaining what they planned to do and how escort and defense details would take place. After doing so, Kurenai set about helping Tsunami cook enough food for all of her visitors as the 2 male jonin pulled the genin aside to explain how things would work to them. Asuma began the explanation first. All right, Team 7 has been gracious enough to agree to defend the bridge and Tizuna for us. We, Team 8 and Team 10, will be defending the home and training. Then genin nodded. What about at night? Shino asked, looking at the 2 jonin. It would only be logical for the shinobi to attack at night. Why? Because it would be prudent to assume that most people would be asleep. Why? Because it is only logical that we would be tired after training. That will be left to my team. We've got a way to make sure that we can all rest without worrying too much about any nighttime ambush. Kakashi said, nonchalantly reading his little orange book, getting glares from all the females in the room. We have something more important to share though, Asuma said. Kakashi, you explain? Kakashi nodded. Zabuza is probably still alive. The statement immediately earned loud exclamations of surprise and outrage from all of the genin. Kakashi held up a hand to quiet them and continued. Hunter Ninja are supposed to dispose of the body on sight. Even when a bounty is required, they simply take the head and then burn the body to prevent their country's secrets from escaping. The fact that the Hunter Ninja we encountered simply shunshined away with the body means that he's working for Zabuza. The team got eerily quiet while Tizuna spoke up. Isn't it possible that you're just overthinking this? he said quietly, voice quavering with fear. We could be, but even then, they'll most likely just send someone stronger. We shouldn't take the risk, Kakashi said, standing. Come on then. Let's go eat and then head to bed. Naruto, your clones are what we're using as nighttime defense. Naruto nodded. Sounds good. I was making some anyway. About how many should I have? You can make as many as you want since sleeping will rebuild your chakra. Naruto grinned. Awesome. Somewhere else, the hunter ninja set Zabuza's body to the ground. After doing so, he removed the bandages from Zabuza's mouth and pulled a pair of scissor-like tools. Let's see. I think I'll drain some blood first. Suddenly, Zabuza's hand shot up and grabbed the ninja's wrist. I can do that myself. Zabuza sat up and then roughly removed the senbon from his neck. You're always so rough, Haku. Haku laughed melodiously. I just didn't want to scar your beautiful body, Zabuza-sama. But if you pull them out like that, you could really hurt your body. Zabuza chortled mirthlessly. You didn't have to do that. I could have handled them. Haku removed his mask. I don't think so. 2 ninja of your caliber, another jonin that you don't know anything about, and 9 genin. Even with me, it would be a bit much. I managed to free the demon brothers. We should plan more carefully. Zabuza smiled at Haku. You're so bright, kid, and pure. That's what I love about you. What happened to my arms? Kakashi was smart. The stab wounds were a check he did to see if you had the right blood pressure for death. I simulated it fine, but your arms won't be useful for at least 2 weeks even with my treatment. I'll get him back for that one. The next morning, Naruto was up early and quickly moved outside into the woods behind Tezuna's house. He dispelled one of his 100 clones to absorb any information calculated by it. There had been no intruders or attack the night before, but the clones remained on high alert. The clone he dispelled had been sent to scout out the wooded area around the house. He'd found a small lake 10 miles north of the village that connected to a small waterfall around 4 miles west from the lake. The tall pine trees were similar in size to the trees of Konoha too, so he used them to try to get a vantage point, but he couldn't find much information other than the way the village was structured. After reviewing the information that he got from the clone, Naruto began to train. He had 2 of his clones return from their posts to begin tree walking again to make sure they had a total grasp of the movements. Then, he grabbed a left and set about to cutting it with chakra. I'm surprised you're up already, Dobe, came a quiet voice from the direction of the house, interrupting Naruto's conversation. Naruto looked up to see Sasuke walking towards him from the house. I was up before you, sleeping beauty. I don't know what you're talking about. Sasuke rolled his eyes. I think it was more that you couldn't sleep because of Kiba's snoring. Why couldn't we get Shino in our room again? Naruto scoffed. Because Shikamaru called him first. He said Kiba was way too troublesome and that you and I were troublesome enough to deal with him. Sasuke sighed. What are you working on? I've got 2 clones working on tree walking, and I'm working on cutting this stupid leaf. Sasuke grunted, jealous of the Dobe's ability to do multiple things at once using the clones. Still, there was a grudging respect considering that he didn't have nearly enough chakra to even perform the jutsu once. Not that he hadn't tried. Flashback. I demand that he teaches me that jutsu, Sasuke yelled at Kakashi angrily. How come some Dobe gets a jutsu that speeds up his ability to learn instead of me? I'm the last Uchiha. I need that power to get my revenge. Kakashi sighed. You don't need it to get revenge. Itachi doesn't know that jutsu well enough to use it more than once. Even I can barely make 5 clones. You don't have the chakra yet. You don't know what Itachi's capable of. He slaughtered my whole clan. I demand that I be taught that jutsu. Naruto spoke up. Sensei, I'm willing to teach it to him. Both Kakashi and Sasuke turned to Naruto in shock. What? I mean, he is my teammate. Plus, like you said, even if he can use the jutsu, the chances of him being able to use it like I can are minimal. Kakashi nodded, suppressing another sigh. Fine. Show him. Naruto took the time to show Sasuke the hand seal, explain the theory, and how to use the jutsu. Sasuke channeled his chakra, gathering most of it, and then called out the jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. As he did, he felt his chakra drain and heard the puff of smoke. He collapsed to his knees, panting and too tired to stand. He looked to the side to see a clone that looked pale and lifeless, similar to the clones he'd seen Naruto create during their time at the academy. "You didn't use enough chakra," Naruto said quietly. Sasuke looked up from his position on the ground, breathing hard. The jutsu took away most of his chakra. He didn't feel like he could even stand with his remaining reserves. Sakura fussed over him, and he couldn't even ward the fangirl of. Around them, about 20 of Naruto's clones continued doing the tree climbing exercise. Damn, how much chakra does Naruto have? He thought. Never mind, not using that jutsu for a long time. Good idea, Kakashi said with an eye smile as Naruto laughed at his teammate. End flashback. Sasuke shook himself from his memory as he began to start walking up the tree again. Where's Sakura Dobe? Naruto turned to Sasuke as he continued to channel wind chakra towards the leaf. I guess she's still asleep. Should we wake her up? Sasuke continued walking up the tree, moving slowly to tax his chakra reserves and his muscles more. I'm not doing it. That room has two fangirls, her and Ino. Even if Sakura's gotten better, I'm not dealing with Ino at 4:30 in the morning. Naruto rolled his eyes. I'll send a clone to do it. He dispelled one of the clones that was tree walking, absorbing the information from the clone. He made another clone which took off to wake up Sakura. With that, Naruto returned to cutting his leaf. By the way, team, what made you think about Sakura? Naruto asked. I assumed she'd want to train a little since we're defending the bridge today. Oh, I see, Naruto said, throwing Sasuke a huge grin. You sure that's all? Dope. Yeah, team. Shut up. Naruto burst out laughing at his teammates' words, and Sasuke smirked before they both resumed training. Naruto 3.0 made his way to the window to the girls' room and gently rapped on the glass. Sakura immediately woke up and opened the window. What are you doing here, Naruto? And why are you here so early? Boss and team sent me to wake you up. You coming to train? Sakura sighed. Yeah, hold on. As Sakura gathered her equipment and tied her headband to her head, Naruto looked around the room before noticing something. Wait, is Ino naked? The words left his mouth, when Sakura, realizing the blunder, threw a kunai that hit Naruto between his eyes, dispelling the clone. Ino should have known better, but stupid Naruto's a pervert too. Naruto shot backward, blood dripping from his nose, as the memories from his clone returned to him. He sat up and wiped the blood from his nose, ignoring Sasuke's strange look. I forgot that it's not just guys that sleep naked, Naruto said by way of explanation. Sasuke snorted, now standing upside down on a tree, shooting streams of fire to knock pine cones down by burning only their stems. Kakashi had taught him this jutsu, a basic fire-starting jutsu, to show him that even the simplest technique could make their way into fights. This jutsu, he'd explained, was great for hitting through cracks and small holes. Naruto Baka, stop being a pervert, Sakura yelled as she walked up to the two training boys. Sorry, Sakura. I didn't think that she'd be sleeping naked. Sakura rolled her eyes and pulled a scroll from her pouch. The scroll contained instructions for Earth style. Swift Earth, which allows the user to move the earth in front of them within a certain range to move swiftly backwards like a conveyor belt. This jutsu, Kakashi said, would give her evasion and help the team set up powerful combinations. Naruto, lend me a clone. I'm gonna practice this jutsu on him. Naruto nodded, making a clone for her, and then returned to his own training. He'd managed to create a clean cut through half of the leaf. If he could create that cut all the way through the leaf, he could move on. Team 7 made their way back to the house 2.5 hours later, to find that the other genin were finally awake and currently eating a simple breakfast of rice and natto that Kakashi and Asuma prepared. "Sasuke-kun," Ino yelled as she tackled him. "Where have you been? Were you working out? You're all sweaty and manly." "HN. Someone get her off me, please. I beg you." "Oh, Sasuke-kun, you're so silly," Ino said, cuddling closer as Sakura tried to pry her off. "Ino pig, get off Sasuke-kun," Sakura yelled. As the girls fought over Sasuke, Naruto picked up his own share of breakfast and found a seat near Hinata. "Thank God. You're not like them, Hinata-chan," he said. "Eep." With that, Hinata turned red and promptly fainted, falling backward only to be caught by Kurenai. "We'll have to work on that," the older Jonin said before carrying Hinata to her room. Naruto turned to Shino. "Why did she pass out like that?" Shino shrugged simply. "I am not sure. Perhaps she is not feeling well," he lied. Naruto nodded. "I hope she feels better soon." As they continued to eat, a little boy made his way into the kitchen. Tazuna exclaimed, "Inari, my boy, come give your grandpa a hug. How are you today?" Inari walked up and gave his grandfather a hug. As he did, Tsunami spoke. "Inari, thank these ninja. They're here to protect your grandpa." Inari turned to look around at the various ninja in the room. "What's the point? They're all going to die anyway. No one's going to be able to stand up to Gato." Naruto grinned at the kid. "You wish, kid. We're gonna kick his ass." The kid just looked at him before walking away. "I'm gonna go look at the ocean." Tazuna looked around with sad eyes. "Sorry about that. He hasn't been the same since Gato took over the island." After breakfast, the team made their way to the bridge with Tazuna. As they walked there, Naruto asked the old man lots of questions about bridge building. Tazuna seemed to enjoy the interest in the topic and easily answered all of Naruto's questions. As they approached the bridge, the team spread out, taking proper defensive points. From his position, Naruto observed the bridge being built. "Hey, old man," he called out to Tazuna. "Does it normally take such a long time to get this done?" Tazuna stopped and turned to Naruto. "No. We're really low on workers. It's unfortunate, but so many people get scared of Gato that they stop coming." "How many workers do you need?" Naruto asked. "I used to have over 300 workers here. Now we have about 30. It's a pretty big change." Naruto turned to Kakashi. "Sensei, clones could help, right?" Kakashi nodded to his student. "Yeah. Having the bridge complete faster would also work for our mission requirements. No more than 600 though." Naruto nodded to his sensei, laughing. "Here you go, Tazuna-san." With those words, Naruto created 400 clones. "Just tell him what to do." Tazuna laughed happily and then immediately began calling out orders to the clones, which set to work immediately. The next 3 days passed in similar fashion. In the early mornings, Naruto and Team 7 would train. After the first morning, Kakashi began to join his team for the early morning training. Rather than train them as he did in the village, he simply offered suggestions to each genin based on what they chose to work on and then did training of his own. Team 7, inspired by their sensei's own training, began to train harder as well. Naruto had finally created a clean cut into the leaf. He'd eagerly shown Kakashi, who congratulated him on the task. He'd followed up by handing Naruto a rock and told him to cut that. Naruto couldn't even scratch the thing though. The progress on the bridge was going quickly too, thanks to the 400 Naruto clones that eagerly worked on the bridge, happy to learn something new that could prove useful for a Hokage to understand. The other thing that Naruto was slowly learning, interestingly, were table manners. Having found his mealtime etiquette absolutely horrendous, Kurenai had taken it upon herself to fix it. Every time he messed up, she often forced him to relive his kiss with Sasuke. As a result, Naruto quickly matured into a more polite eater. Inari often still spoke rudely to the ninja, but the ninja just ignored him, having heard the story of Kaiza from Tazuna. Flashback. As the ninja sat in Tazuna's house eating together, when Sakura noticed a picture on the wall of Inari, Tazuna, Tsunami, and some man whose face was torn away. Say, Tazuna-san, who's the man whose face is torn away here? Tazuna looked at the picture and sighed sadly. That man was the man who was the hero of our land, Kaiza. Inari suddenly stood up and ran out of the room. Tsunami got up and began to follow. Father, I told you not to talk about him around Inari. What happened to him? Kiba asked bluntly, earning a smack on his shoulder from Shikamaru. Tazuna sadly looked up. To understand what Kaiza meant, you have to understand Inari as a child. He was a shy child without any friends. The local children bullied him, and his only companion was a small puppy. One day, the group of bullies found Inari and the puppy at the harbors and pushed both of them into the water. The puppy could swim. Inari, however, could not. TT, that's horrible, Hinata said. Inari fainted, but when he woke up, he found Kaiza had saved him. Kaiza told Inari that a man would choose a life of no regrets and for that reason should protect the things precious to him with both arms no matter what. With that, Inari's hero became Kaiza. They were inseparable like father and son, and Tsunami really came to love Kaiza. They were married soon after. Naruto frowned. There was definitely bad news coming up. He was the kind of man the city needed too. Once, during a flood where the dam was overflowing, Kaiza swam through the current and tied a rope to the gate so the village people could pull it closed. He was the city's hero. That was till Gatu came to the village. The smiles left the faces of everyone in the room. What happened? Kakashi asked. Gatu had Kaiza publicly executed. He had him dismembered, then cut his stomach so that he would die slowly. With that, Inari lost all hope and courage and all faith in heroes. The whole town changed. End flashback. After another long day of bridge building and eating, the ninja were relaxing quietly in Tazuna's house when Naruto suddenly stood up and began to walk outside. Where are you going, Naruto? Kakashi asked. Naruto turned around for a moment. I just want to walk around and work on some stuff. Don't worry. My clone are already in position and I'll be fine. Kakashi nodded. Have a good walk. Naruto nodded and walked quietly out. He found a quiet clearing full of soft plants. There he sat and read his book on Fuinjutsu. He felt strangely drawn to it and reading it comforted him. There he sat and eventually, let sleep take him. Haku stood by Zabuza and sighed. Zabuza-sama, we're out of medical herbs. I'm going out to get some more. Zabuza nodded. Good. The faster I heal, the faster we can complete this job. Haku turned to the demon brothers. You aren't allowed to let him stand up. Turning back to Zabuza, Haku kept talking. I sent a message to him. He should be here. Good. With those words, Haku changed into a pink flowery dress and grabbing a basket, walked out of the door. The fake hunter ninja walked quietly through the woods, casually towards the same patch of herbs he'd found earlier. As he approached it though, Haku noticed that someone was asleep in it. Cautiously, Haku made his way near Naruto, recognizing him as one of the 9 genin that were defending Tazuna. Conflicted, Haku slowly reached towards Naruto's neck. Cursing his softness, though, he instead shook Naruto by his shoulder. Hey, wake up. You'll catch a cold if you sleep out here. Naruto groaned and opened his eyes to see a beautiful face above him with a heart-shaped face, beautiful chocolate brown eyes, and full lips. He immediately muttered, Tenchi? The girl giggled out. I'm afraid not. You aren't really dead. Naruto sat up, blushing quickly. Whoops. Haku laughed again. That's okay. I was simply picking some herbs for a friend who was hurt when I saw you here. I apologize if I woke you too early. Naruto shook his head. Nah, I should have been awake. Would you like some help picking those herbs? Sure. Naruto spent the next half hour helping Haku pick herbs as they talked. Haku explained the concept of precious people to him, which Naruto agreed with heartily. Then Haku stopped. That should be plenty. Time for me to leave. Thank you, Naruto-san. Naruto nodded. Any time. Have a safe walk home. Haku thanked him and began to walk away. By the way, I'm a boy. Naruto fell over. First I kissed Sasuke. Now I call a boy an angel. What's happening to me? 5 more days passed with the same schedule for the genin. Not much changed for the Konoha ninja, other than that they improved. Team 8 and Team 10's genin were currently improving at tree climbing. Team 7, long having mastered the technique, had moved on. They'd begun to learn water walking and all 3 genin were decent at it. Sasuke was the fastest to pick up on the technique thanks to having both a decent chakra pool and decent control. Sakura had picked up the technique quickly, but she could not sustain the walk for long. As a result, Kakashi had her run laps on the water till she fell in, always having a Naruto clone on standby or himself to prevent her from suddenly fainting and drowning. Naruto had struggled with the water walking due to his poor control at first but easily learned the technique using his shadow clones. The sheer repetition and the 24/7 practice made him learn it easily. However, Kakashi had insisted that Naruto also do jumps from the water to increase the power of his chakra. He had Naruto do squats in the water and then jump as high as possible before landing on the water without sinking in. The control required to do that proved difficult and tiring as well. Naruto had also learned to make sealing scrolls during his time working with Kakashi. Not particularly useful for any coming battles, but still useful in the long run. During the nights, Naruto had gotten closer to the other genin as well. He spent most of his time sitting either with Sasuke and Sakura, reading quietly as Sasuke brooded and Sakura fangirled. Other times, usually in the evenings, when Ino and Sakura fought over Sasuke and the poor boy was trapped in between, Naruto hung out with Shikamaru and Choji. He enjoyed playing games of shogi with Shikamaru and occasionally Shino, Kakashi, and Asuma. He found the games fun. He and Shikamaru played the most and nearly almost always ended in draws. Occasionally, he would win but lose immediately after to the Nara. With Shino and Asuma, both Naruto and Shikamaru remained undefeated, but against Kakashi neither genin could win. The loss was ridiculously frustrating for both as it was always an overwhelming defeat. Naruto also found Shino's bugs fascinating and asked him questions frequently about the creatures. Shino found the interest great and happily discussed the bugs, explaining how he could use them to suction chakra away from enemies and track people. Naruto found Kiba and Hinata fairly nice too. He found it a little hard to talk to both of them though. Kiba was loud, abrasive, and much like he used to be prior to the Mizuki event. Hinata just fainted a lot when Naruto spoke to her, which made getting to know her difficult. Naruto and Shikamaru by the door playing another game of shogi after another day of work. The boys played calmly while Kakashi sat nearby while reading his little orange book and examining the game between the Naruto and Shikamaru. Sasuke was sitting with Shino while the 3 girls sat together gossiping about something. Kiba was talking about something with Choji as Asuma and Kurenai sat together talking in hushed tones. Tazuna sat drinking as Tsunami finished doing the dishes. Inari sat glaring at the genin in the room. Suddenly he burst out, "Why do you guys try so hard? No matter how hard you train or what you do, you'll never be any match for Gatu's men. No matter what glorious claim you're making or how hard you work, you need to realize that when facing the strong, the weak will always die." The room became deathly quiet, and the only sounds was a wooden tap as Naruto moved a shogi piece forward. "I couldn't agree more. That's why we're gonna beat him. We're not like you, we aren't crybabies." Inari stood up and banged his hands on the table, tears streaming from his eyes. "Shut up. I don't want to be like you. I'd hate to be like you. What the hell do you know about me or our country? You don't know anything about me. You guys are always acting so cheerful and playing around. You guys don't know anything about how hard life is." There was a sudden crack as a table crunched under Sasuke's fingers. Sasuke looked up at Inari, shaking. "So, you're just some kind of a hero of a tragedy, huh?" Flashback. "No, Sasuke, don't come in." The dead bodies of his parents. His brother, Itachi, standing there was holding a katana, freshly pulled from his mother's body. And I said, why? Why did you do this? The entire clan. A kunai whizzed by Sasuke, cutting through his shoulder. That was foolish of you, Sasuke, Itachi said coldly. Sasuke looked on horrified as Itachi's eyes transformed. Tsukuyami. Sasuke's body collapsed. For the next 1,000 hours you shall witness the events of tonight. In detail. A moment passed and Sasuke looked up at his brother. Why? Why did you kill everyone? Itachi looked at Sasuke passively. They were a tool for me to measure myself with. What? Sasuke said weakly. Just for that, you killed everyone. That's bullshit. Sasuke stood and ran at Itachi. Before he could do much though, Itachi punched him in the gut. Sasuke collapsed again, looking into his mother's dead face. I'm scared. I don't want to die. With a terrified scream, Sasuke began running away. I don't want to die. Don't kill me. Foolish little brother, you're too weak to kill. Run. Survive. If you want revenge, live miserable, train, hate me. Learn to survive. End flashback. You think you have a hard life? You don't know anything, brat. You sit there with your mom and grandfather to take care of you. You've got food to eat, a roof over your head. You don't end up walking into the same house where your family was slaughtered every day. Sasuke angrily moved to punch Inari, but before he could, Naruto's fist slammed into his face. Chill, team. It's not like you're the only one pissed about what the brat said, Naruto said, cracking his knuckles. Come on, let's go work your anger off. Sasuke stood, wiping a little blood away from his face as he did. Yeah, let's go. With those words, Sasuke walked out the door, with his hands quietly in his pocket. Naruto turned to Inari. He's right, you know? You have people to care for you. Some of us don't have that luxury. Sensei, we're gonna spar till team calms down. Kakashi found Inari sitting down on a pier looking out onto the water with a picture of Kaiza. Sasuke didn't mean to be so harsh, Kakashi said, startling him. Neither did Naruto, I suppose. Sasuke's family was killed before his eyes. Naruto never knew either of his parents. They've had pasts much rougher than yours, believe it or not. Yet they both never cry. They both work hard. Naruto especially never lets what others say affect him, keeping his path on his dream. They're probably sick of crying. Naruto probably understands your feelings better than most people. Sasuke understands wanting revenge too. They both probably care about you because you're a little like they were as kids. Sakura sat quietly in her room. Finally, it registered why on that first day, during the test, Sasuke had snapped at her when she criticized Naruto's lack of parents. They're the same. They both don't have parents to care for them. I was so horrible to Naruto. That thought moved Sakura to tears, regret piling up from her treatment of Naruto over the years. He's changed so much too. I really owe him an apology. The next morning, all the ninja gathered in the main area. Naruto and Sasuke had sparred late into the night but eventually had returned to sleep. The boys seemed to have bonded over the experience, and whatever they'd talked about seemed to have relaxed them both. That morning during training, Sakura had apologized to Naruto as well, who happily forgave her. After the morning, he returned to calling her Sakura-chan, which Sakura happily accepted. The ninja gathered in the room because due to the bridge being almost entirely finished, any attack on the old bridge builder would come the day of. Naruto would leave behind 5 clones to defend Inari and Tsunami, but the rest of the force planned to join Tazuna at the bridge for a last day battle. In the woods, further away, Zabuza swung his sword happily. Full recovery. Let's go get a severed head. Haku nodded, donning his mask, and prepared to move as the demon brothers finished cleaning their weapons. Time for revenge, they said eerily at the same time. Yeah, I'm getting 50% of the money, right, Zabuza? After all, I'm doing you a huge favor, a tall man behind Zabuza said. His black cloak swished as he stepped into the light, the red clouds on it swirling around him. A strange sword hung on his back, wrapped in bandages. His shark-like skin and sinister grin belied his bloodthirst. Yeah, Kisame, you'll get your share. What's up with the funny clothing? That's not something you need to know about. Now let's get going. I'm looking forward to a decent fight and some great cash. Chapter 6. When the ninja arrived at Bridge, the two workers present at the moment were found lying on the ground. They weren't dead, but they were unconscious and extremely cut up. Tazuna ran up to one of the men and shook him. Sanda, what's wrong? Who did this? Tazuna-san, I think we know who did this, Kakashi said, pointing to the edge of the bridge. There, 5 shinobi stood. Zabuza and Haku were easily recognized by the genin. Team 8 and Team 10 exclaimed at seeing the demon brothers giving away their identity to Team 7, who began to formulate things based on what the things they heard from the other two teams during their time over the last 2 weeks. The last ninja, however, none of the genin recognized. The jonin, however, immediately recognized him. Kakashi groaned. Kisame Hashigake. 2 of the 7 mist swordsmen are here, great. Zabuza called for backup, and this one is more dangerous than he is. Naruto spoke up. More dangerous than Zabuza? The demon of the hidden mist? Kakashi nodded. Yeah. Zabuza is classified in our bingo book as an A-rank ninja. There's not even flee on sight or kill on sight orders. Just a bounty of 20 million yen. Kisame, on the other hand, is an S-rank ninja in our bingo book with direct flee on sight orders. The other ninja complicate things. What's the plan? Asuma? Kurenai? As the other jonin quickly formulated a plan, Kakashi called out to the enemy ninja. Zabuza, you brought friends. The Mist Jonin laughed out. Well, considering you had 2 jonin with you, it was only fair. Not to mention you have so many genin too. I guess that's fair, but you picked a big bad wolf as your backup. I didn't know we could invite animals to the party. Kisame laughed loudly. I like you, Kakashi. I'm gonna enjoy tearing the skin from your body with my sword. I'll warn you now, it doesn't cut. It shreds and, best of all, absorbs chakra. Kakashi turned lightly back to his team. What's the plan? Asuma nodded at Zabuza. Why not let Kurenai and I deal with him? We'll leave Kisame to you. Kakashi nodded. You owe me for that. Should have left the couple thing out of the fight. The two blushed. We aren't dating. We'll just take him down quickly, so we can both back you up. Kurenai said. Yeah, fine. Naruto, Sasuke, you're taking down the fake hunter ninja. Sakura, you're guarding Tazuna. Hi! The 3 ninja called out, preparing for battle. Asuma spoke next. Team 8 and Team 10, the demon brothers are yours. There's one for each of you, but watch out for their teamwork. Got it, the 6 genin responded. Zabuza laughed. Look at them making plans. Haku. Kill them all. The boy nodded, moving forward. He rushed in quickly to slaughter his opponents, drawing Senbon. Before he could do much, though he was countered by Naruto and Sasuke, stopped the shinobi's movement using kunai and then quickly, moving in coordination, moved the hunter ninja to the side of the bridge. Zabuza looked at the small battle and grinned. Look at that, Kakashi, you had some kids that can play with Haku. Not bad, but that boy's special. Special enough that even Kisame avoids a direct fight with him. Kisame smacked Zabuza lightly. He only beat me once, damn it. Kakashi shot the boys a concerned look before turning to his own fight. I wouldn't underestimate them if I were you. The demon brothers rushed out next and quickly pushed the 2 teams back away their area of the bridge, even pushing them hard enough to get the teams pushed away from the bridge onto the land entirely. At the same moment, Zabuza began moving toward Tazuna, but was countered by a fireball from Kurenai as kunai from Asuma also flew into him. Asuma immediately charged, slamming into his sword with his trench knives, stalling him in place. Shall we start then, Kisame? Kakashi said as he drew a kunai and the mist ninja drew his own sword. With pleasure. Haku found himself hard-pressed against the 2 boys he was fighting. Not only were both boys excellent at keeping him pinned back, unable to get time to form hand seals, but they worked well off each other's attacks. Naruto moved forward, occupying Haku with a kunai matching his own. Haku prepared to land a kick at the orange-clad genin. Before he could, however, Sasuke jumped over Naruto, landing a kick to Haku's face, disorienting the boy and causing him to stumble. The stumble gave Naruto just enough time that he could close in himself to the boy, slashing at him with a kunai. Haku managed to step back quickly, avoiding most of the cut but not unscathed as the kunai left a small cut on his chest. Responding quickly, trying to buy a little time, Haku threw his senbon at the two genin while moving backward. The senbon caused both Naruto and Sasuke to hesitate, forcing them to either dodge away or block, which gave Haku just the time he needed. The masked boy quickly formed a few hand seals and called out, "Water style, water bullet jutsu." The boy quickly spit out 6 hand-sized balls of water at the Konoha genin, forcing Naruto and Sasuke to dodge away from the balls. Each missed shot hit the ground with such impact that it cracked the concrete a little. "Damn team, he's got the counter to your element," Naruto said as he moved in on Haku again, throwing 3 kunai to keep his hands from forming more seals. "Shut up, Dobe. If you'd have finished learning how to control your damn wind chakra, then we could have overpowered this fool." Sasuke pushed in behind Naruto, forming his own hand seals as Naruto closed in on Haku. Naruto quickly engaged Haku with a combination of punches and kicks. He threw a straight punch at Haku's head, which the boy blocked quickly, only to notice a stamp kick from the blonde aimed at his knee. He jumped over the kick, but before he could do much else, Naruto used his headband as a weapon, head-butting Haku in the stomach, knocking him back a bit. Naruto moved in again, drawing a kunai too as he did, aiming slashes at his opponent's weak points. Haku again found himself pressed by the blonde genin, who wasn't anything special. Haku was far more experienced, of course, and quickly used a senbon to block a slash, causing the boys to clash. Naruto pressed his kunai against Haku's senbon, pressing hard to overwhelm the boy with his strength. "Looks like we're tied," Naruto said to Haku, grinning hugely. "Perhaps, but you are at a disadvantage. You see, I have one hand available." Naruto gave the boy a strange look. "What?" Suddenly Haku quickly made hand seals with one hand and announced, "Ice style, 1,000 needles of death." The water from the previous water bullets suddenly rose, hardening into ice and forming 1,000 senbon. "Ah shit," Naruto said. "I cannot get hit by that. Channel chakra to the legs, use the chakra to push backwards." Naruto shot away from his location as the icy needles crashed into his former location. As he hurtled backward, Naruto tossed 2 kunai at Haku, which the boy blocked. "Fire style, flaming spear." The words caused Haku to stop in shock as Sasuke launched a thin stream of fire which whizzed under Naruto's army. Haku jumped away a little late, causing his sleeve to catch fire. Before he could respond to his arm, however, Naruto was in his face again, landing harsh punches to his gut that forced him to double over. The punches were followed a speedy spin kick that sent him flying back. Haku looked up from his place to see Naruto and Sasuke standing beside each other, both preparing to engage the boy again. "I had hoped not to use it. Now, unfortunately, it seems I should not hold back." Haku stood shakily and then looked at his opponents. "You two are skilled. Forgive me, but I shall no longer hold back." Naruto and Sasuke tensed, but before they could respond, Haku had finished a set of hand seals. Hidden Jutsu, Demon Ice Mirrors. Mirrors of ice formed around the 2 Konoha genin, forming a dome around them. Haku stepped into the mirrors and drew a few senbon. In a second, the 2 genin had senbon stabbed into them as Haku's image flew from mirror to mirror. "Shit," Naruto said. "HN." The Demon Brothers easily pushed the genin of Team 8 and Team 10 away from the bridge closer to the area near Tazuna. "Gozu, you handle the team with the dog. I want the team with the little blonde," Meizu said. Gozu nodded. "Don't break her too quickly." The genin prepared to fight as the 2 individual chunin rushed each team. As soon as combat started, Team 8 found themselves pressed by Gozu, who, despite having been easily knocked out by Asuma earlier, was more than a match for the genin. Gozu used his superior taijutsu to keep the genin pushed away, using his poisoned claws to threaten the genin. Kiba had already had Akamaru transform into his beak clone, but even with the extra fighter, Gozu seemed to easily overwhelm the ninja, using his chain and claw to knock Kiba away while also using the boy as a block against the Aburame bugs and Hinata. Meizu slowly approached Team 10 drawing a kunai. "Why don't you kids surrender? Hand over the pretty girl, and at least you boys won't have to die." "No way," Ino yelled. "If you two quit, I'll kill you myself," she said, looking at Shikamaru and Choji menacingly. "Relax, Ino. Shika and I won't abandon you like that," Choji said. "Troublesome. He's right. It would be too much trouble. Now let's figure out how to beat him. Buy me some time. I have a plan." The other two nodded and rushed forward, engaging the Chunin. Choji began to immediately fight him using the Akamichi Taijutsu as Ino provided support using poison and explosives. Asuma and Kurenai were having the easiest time on the bridge. Still, Zabuza was proving a difficult opponent for the both of them. As soon as they'd begun to fight, Zabuza had used his hidden mist jutsu to block their sight, making it difficult for both jonin to spot out their enemy. Zabuza's silent killing technique made it difficult for them to pin down his location as well. On the other hand, Zabuza found Asuma to be equally skilled in close-quarters combat. His only real advantage once Asuma could see him was the range of his sword against the trench knives of Asuma, and even that was negated as Kurenai manipulated his senses with her genjutsu, forcing him to constantly interrupt his own chakra flow to escape the genjutsu. Asuma quickly moved into Zabuza's guard, slashing at his gut. Zabuza took a step back, avoiding the blade entirely, but thanks to Asuma's wind element modifying the blade received a cut to his torso. He wasn't given any time to dwell on the cut as he suddenly began seeing double and found himself trying to deal with two copies of Asuma. Assuming one to be a shadow clone, Zabuza slashed at its head only to notice his sword pass through entirely and felt a trench knife from thin air stab into his arm. The pain broke the genjutsu, but now, the disadvantages piled up as he retreated into the mist, taking time to plan and recover. Kakashi stood facing off against Kisame, Sharingan eye whirling as he prepared to fight the shark-like missing ninja. Deciding to take the initiative, Kakashi tossed a kunai at his opponent before charging at the man. Kisame easily blocked the kunai with Samahata and slashed at Kakashi's head. Kakashi ducked under the sword and using another kunai stabbed at Kisame. This one was also met with Samahata. Despite the large size of the man, Kakashi quickly found in a continued exchange that the man was fast, probably almost as fast as himself. He tried to make some space to channel chakra, but every time he began, he found that the chakra seemed to disappear as Kisame's sword swung by him. Having issues performing jutsu, Sharingan Kakashi? Kisame asked, grinning. Now, why would I tell you if I was?" Kakashi asked nonchalantly, despite internally beginning to panic. "That's true, but you should know that my beloved Samahata absorbs chakra. It loves the feast and you've fed it quite a bit. That lets me have plenty of chakra too. It won't absorb jutsu sadly, but oh well." Kakashi quickly began reformulating a plan based off the information he'd learned. He immediately pulled away, retreating quite a lot from Kisame, throwing a kunai and performing hand seals. Kunai Shadow Clone Jutsu. The one kunai turned into 20 that did not create much issue for Kisame but bought Kakashi enough time to perform another set of seals. Wind Style. Vacuum Wave. Kakashi exhaled a fast-moving sphere of vacuum wind which Kisame moved to block with his sword again. The sphere pushed Kisame back rather than becoming absorbed by the sword, confirming what Kisame said just a little before. Kakashi formed another series of hand seals. Wind Style. Divine Wind. And exhaled a small tornado that moved quickly towards Kisame, who began to move out of the way as Kakashi fired a stream of fire into it that turned it into a blazing hurricane that changed directions and began swirling towards Kakashi. Kisame began to form his own hand seals and summoned a vortex of water that slammed into the fiery tornado, eliminating it. He didn't have much time to anything else, though, as Kakashi was in his face with slashes aimed at his head with a kunai. Kisame blocked the hits and using his Samahata as a plant slammed his foot into Kakashi, sending Kakashi flying away. Before he could get too far, Kisame also slashed with Samahata, leaving a painful gash into Kakashi's left arm as he flew into the side of the bridge and collapsed with a pained gasp. Kakashi stood shakily as Kisame rushed him and groaned as he prepared to deal the S-rank missing ninja's next attack. Naruto and Sasuke were not in a great position. Both boys, who till they became trapped in the mirror dome were easily overpowering Haku, found themselves no longer able to keep up with kunai stabbing them all over their body. "This is annoying," Naruto said as he threw a shuriken at Haku's location, attempting to put some wind chakra into the blade. The shuriken hit the mirror, cracking it slightly only for the mirror to repair itself immediately. "He's slowing down," Sasuke said as he performed a few hand seals and launched a huge fireball at the mirrors, which began to melt only to reform. "It's taking chakra to repair the mirrors too." Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I can't tell that he's slowing down though." Naruto quickly summoned 20 shadow clones that began attacking the mirrors as he moved closer to Sasuke to discuss a plan. "What about explosive tags? Try it." Before too long though, all 20 clones were dispelled and Sasuke and Naruto found themselves covered in a few more senbon. Ignoring the pain, the boys began hurling kunai covered in explosive tags at the mirrors. Yet even that impact did not shatter the mirrors, though it left massive cracks that drained Haku to repair. Slowly, though, Sasuke began responding to the attacks, blocking needle after needle aimed at him. "Hey dope, he's getting weaker. He hasn't hit me in a while." "That's nice team. I'm still getting peppered. How are you stopping his hits?" "It's just really obvious where he's coming from, and he's moving so slowly that it's not really an issue." Naruto stopped attacking and turned to Sasuke. "That made no sense. He hasn't slowed down that much at all. The only thing slowing down is the pace that he's repairing the mirrors." Sasuke turned to face Naruto a bit. "What are you talking about, Dobe?" Naruto paused, looking at Sasuke's eyes. "Team, your eyes are red." Sasuke stopped. "How many?" Naruto looked at Sasuke, puzzled. "How many what?" "How many tomo in my eyes?" "Two in one and only one in the other," Naruto replied, feeling a little creeped out by the smirk on Sasuke's face. "Sharingan. Finally, a chance to catch up to Itachi. It's begun." Naruto grinned too. "Hell yeah, let's crush this guy." Gozu was finally starting to be worn down. He'd easily dealt with Team 10 earlier, keeping the team pushed away using their teamwork against them. However, before long, he found himself starting to get tired, which was a surprise for himself. "Tired already? Against these brats? That makes no sense," he thought as he used his arm to deflect a strike from the blue-haired girl and then spun to kick away Kiba and then jumped over a slow spinning Fong over Fong from the transformed Akamaru. As he did, he noticed Shino coming to punch him. He blocked the strange boy's punch and roughly kicked him away by kicking him in the gut. As he did, however, he felt himself weaken even more. "What are they doing to me?" Gozu asked himself as he rushed towards the genin, intent to kill them before they did anything else. As he did, however, he felt his legs give way under him, the chakra leaving his body quickly. He looked up at the genin facing him. "What did you do to me?" Shino held up his arms and bugs left his body. "These are Kikachu bugs. They absorb chakra from the opponent. Additionally, you engaged Hinata here in a close quarters fight. Don't you know not to fight a Hyuga like that? Kiba was just a distraction. Now, knock him out and tie him up." With that, Kiba swiftly chopped at the back of Gozu's head, knocking him out. Choji and Ino were also having a very hard time against Meizu. Choji had used his expansion jutsu to increase his size and roll around trying to pin the Chunin in place as Ino attacked using various ninja tools and taijutsu. Meizu, however, did not seem to be struggling against the two and took great pleasure in slowly cutting Ino with a kunai. He laughed maniacally as he did, all the while speaking about all the things he'd do with her dead body, most of which made Ino turn green and yell at him furiously. Suddenly, though, Meizu found himself unable to move. You forgot about me while you were busy saying troublesome things to Ino, Shikamaru said as he caught Meizu with his shadow possession jutsu. I think we'll let Ino handle you. Ino smiled and formed the hand seal for her mind transfer. Once she'd possessed Meizu's body, she quickly attached a few explosive tags to his body, activated them, and then returned to her own body. Shikamaru released his control over Meizu. Meizu snarled as he regained his senses and started to move towards the genin when he noticed a strange hissing from his body. He looked down and his eyes widened as he noticed the explosive tags. Boom! Shikamaru said as the tags blew up, sending little pieces of Meizu flying all over the place. Let's go check on Team 8. Asuma and Kurenai were now wearing down on Zabuza, who was covered in wounds, while the Konoha Jonin weren't even scratched. The mist that Zabuza had been using had long dwindled from a lack of chakra and concentration. Zabuza dodged sideways as Kurenai blew a fireball in his direction, only to run into Asuma, who managed to create 2 more gashes into his arm. Zabuza stumbled back and tried to use his head cleaver to hack off Asuma's head, only to find again that there was no Asuma there. Before he could dispel the genjutsu affecting his perception, he felt the wind-enhanced trench knives dig themselves into his leg, causing him to drop to a knee. Asuma stood over him with Kurenai ready to defend him. That wasn't too bad a fight. Sorry, Zabuza, but you're dead. Asuma raised his trench knife and stabbed, aiming for Zabuza's head. Tsunami stood in the kitchen quietly humming as she washed dishes. As she did, she heard the door open and called out, Inari, I'm in the kitchen. She continued to wash the dishes when she heard another voice. Well, looks like the bridge builder had an attractive daughter. Tsunami turned around, eyes widening as she saw the 2 thugs that worked for Gatu, the ones who had been present at Kaisa's execution. Why are you here? She asked, voice trembling as she stepped back. Well, our employer has not much faith in the men he hired to kill your father. So we're here to ensure that he'll surrender by taking you. We'll give you back to him piece by piece till he gives up on the bridge, and then maybe we'll let you go. The thugs quickly tied up Tsunami and began to march her towards the door when Inari walked in. The small boy looked at the thugs before he froze. What are you doing? Tsunami quickly yelled at Inari. Inari, get away from here. These men are Gatu's thugs. Inari quickly turned and ran away into the house as the thugs prepared to chase him. Stop, Tsunami called out. If you chase him, I'll bit my tongue and kill myself. Then, you won't have anyone to use as a hostage. The thugs stopped. Lucky kid. He's got a smart mom. With a laugh, they roughly grabbed Tsunami and began marching her towards the door. Inari stood inside, tears streaming from his face. As he cried, though, he remembered Kakashi's words. Flashback. Sasuke's family was killed before his eyes. Naruto never knew either of his parents. They've had pasts much rougher than yours, believe it or not. Yet they both never cry. They both work hard. Naruto especially never lets what others say affect him, keeping his path on his dream. They're probably sick of crying. Naruto probably understands your feelings better than most people. Sasuke understands wanting revenge too. They both probably care about you because you're a little like they were as kids. End flashback. Inari grit his teeth and moved to the kitchen and grabbed a pan. With it, he ran outside chasing after the bandits till he found them. Hey, stop right there. Let my mom go. The bandits turned to see the shivering kid and laughed. What a brave kid. One of the thugs drew his sword. I want to cut him up. Again, Tsunami tried to interfere. If you do ... Before she could, the other thug knocked her out. Have at it. The thug charged Inari and slashed at him, only to cut through a log instead of Inari. Inari felt himself safely set away from the thugs, just a few feet from his initial position from the log, safely in the hands of Naruto. What are you doing here? He asked. Naruto turned to him and grinned. Boss left 30 of us just in case someone tried something. That was really brave of you, kid. The two bandits prepared to fight only to find themselves easily outnumbered and clearly outskilled. The fight ended easily with both bandits being tied up and unconscious. The clones gently moved Tsunami inside before complimenting Inari again and returning to guarding the house. Naruto frowned as one of the clones' memories returned to him as he tried to dodge another wave of Senbon. He wasn't as lucky as his teammate who was having a great time dealing with the slow boy. Luckily, after noticing the Sharingan, Haku had turned to focus most of his attention on Sasuke, only lightly attacking the orange-clad genin. As Haku rushed again, he suddenly found Sasuke in his face, a harsh kick sending him flying, causing him to fall just outside his dome. The ice-wielding ninja quickly stood and moved back into the mirrors. Those eyes are a hassle. I did not wish to defeat him like this, but it seems I must. Haku turned to Naruto and quickly flew from a mirror from behind him, preparing to use the Senbon to take the blonde's life. Sasuke noticed the movement just a little too late and then quickly sprung in the way. Naruto felt Sasuke's body thud against his back and felt something wet hit his neck. Naruto turned around quickly, just in time to catch Sasuke's collapsing body. 5 Senbons sticking from his neck and other Senbons scattered throughout his body. Naruto stared at his teammate in shock, holding him. Why? Sasuke looked up at Naruto and wheezed, coughing up blood. I don't know. My body just sort of moved on its own. Naruto looked at Sasuke, tears filling his eyes. Damn it, team. You weren't supposed to die for me. Sasuke just chuckled from his position. Maybe that's true, but it looks like I will. I need a favor. My brother killed my entire clan. I swore I would avenge them. If I can't, promise me you will. Naruto nodded. I promise. Thanks, Dobe. With those words, Sasuke closed his eyes and collapsed. Haku looked at the fight sadly. He was a brave shinobi. I am sorry for your loss. Naruto growled at the other boy as he felt a strange feeling. Anger, rage, and bloodlust overwhelmed him as he looked up. Orange chakra seeped from him, wrapping itself around him. Shut up. I'm gonna kill you. Naruto roared suddenly, the chakra shattering the mirrors. Naruto charged the boy and punched him, sending him flying, causing his mask to shatter. Naruto charged again and pulled the boy up to punch his face in when he noticed who the boy was. The chakra suddenly faded as Naruto exclaimed, "You're that guy from the woods." Haku nodded. Indeed, I was picking herbs for Zabuza-sama. Why? Naruto said suddenly. After all that talk about precious people, you work for Zabuza? Haku coughed up a little blood. He is my precious person. In the mist, during the years that it was the blood mist, people with Kekii Genkai are hunted and killed. Flashback. Haku sat outside one day playing in the snow, causing flakes of ice from fingers when his mother saw him. She ran up and quickly reprimanded him, yelling at him to never do that again. Some time passed. Haku heard the yelling between his parents. The next day, a mob broke into his house led by his father. The mob brutally murdered his mother, calling her a witch full of tainting blood. The mob turned on Haku, who in his fear suddenly lost control. In an instant, the whole mob lay dead, full of spikes made of ice. Haku let out a pained scream and quickly ran away. Weeks later, he lay collapsed on the ground preparing to die. A tall man walked up to the child and looked down at him. He kneeled and began to speak to the collapsed boy. Do you want to live? Haku looked up at Zabuza and nodded, too weak to speak. Then serve me. Be my tool. End flashback. Zabuza-sama saved my life. That's plenty for me to serve him. Naruto grit his teeth. I guess. Haku looked up at Naruto. Kill me, Naruto. What? Naruto said, shocked. I am not useful to Zabuza-sama any longer. I am a broken tool. My purpose for living is gone. I do not wish to live. Please. Naruto nodded morbidly as he drew a kunai and aimed to kill Haku when suddenly, Haku interrupted the strike. Forgive me, Naruto. There is still something I have left to do. Asuma thrust at Zabuza, when suddenly Haku shunshined into his attack, catching the thrust between his eyes, dying instantly. Zabuza grinned and swung his blade, aiming to cut through both Haku and Asuma, only for Asuma to jump away from the cut, saving Haku's body too as Naruto ran up to the fighters. The mist was almost gone now. Zabuza stood shakily and began to speak. He was a good tool, even at the end. Naruto had just arrived at the scene and immediately yelled out at the Jonin. "Shut up! Don't call him that. The moron sacrificed himself for a loser like you, and all you can say is that he's a good tool." Zabuza regarded Naruto. "You remind me of a foolish woman I once fought. The ninja world isn't about cupcakes and friendship. It's a world of death and despair. Get used to it." Naruto rolled his eyes. "That's only because assholes like you are alive. I'll change that world and make it a better one." Zabuza ignored the boy and prepared to fight when a voice carried out over the bridge. "I knew you'd fail." A short man surrounded by bandits. "Gatu," Zabuza growled. "Ha! Look at you, demon of the mist. More like baby demon," Gatu called. "I was planning to kill you after anyway, but now it's too easy." Zabuza turned to Asuma and Kurenai. "It looks like my contract is void. Therefore, so is our contract." Zabuza turned towards Gatu and then began to walk in his direction. He sped up quickly, cutting through the bandits that stepped up to guard their boss. He ignored the spears that stabbed into him, the cuts from katana into his body, and easily closed the distance between himself and the shipping tycoon. "I'll show you who's a real demon now, Gatu. I'll have all eternity to in hell." With those words, Zabuza cut through Gatu, splitting the man in half before collapsing. Kisame and Kakashi stood facing off against each other. Kakashi was bleeding profusely from the sharkskin sword that had ripped into him repeatedly. Kisame had his own share of cuts that Kakashi had inflicted. His left arm was bleeding from a strange lightning dragon technique Kakashi used to tear through the S-rank ninja's arm. The two stood facing off as they heard the conversation between Gatu and Zabuza. They saw the demon of the mist collapse, but Kakashi kept his eyes focused on the shark-like man, not daring to look away. "Looks like our fight ends, Kakashi of the Sharingan," Kisame said with a grin. "My contract is void. Another day, perhaps." With those words, Kisame dove off the bridge, into the water, and disappeared. Kakashi turned and moved near Asuma and Kurenai. "You look like hell, Kakashi," Asuma said. "Kakashi," I smiled. "I feel like hell. I never got back up from you too, so it was tough." "Sorry. He wasn't quite as easy as we thought," Kurenai said. The bandits on the other side now turned to the few ninja on the bridge. "Well, now I guess we'll have to raid the village to get our pay." The bandits began to advance when the other genin rejoined the Jonin and Naruto on the bridge. An arrow also suddenly hit the bridge in front of the bandits. Villagers stood at the back of the bridge, led by Inari, who was holding a small crossbow. "We won't let you in our homes," the crowd yelled forward as they advanced. Naruto grinned. "I can help too." He formed his hand seals and formed 50 shadow clones. The bandits slowly began to retreat before turning and running, jumping back into their boats and rowing away. "Yeah, that's what I thought," Naruto said. As soon as the fight was over, however, Naruto turned and began to walk back towards where he'd been fighting Haku. Sakura ran up to him. "Naruto, where's Sasuke-kun?" Naruto gave Sakura a sad look and turned and looked at the location where the mist slowly died down, leaving a collapsed Sasuke in view. The genin stopped shocked as they moved to approach the fallen body of their comrade. The Jonin joined their team. "He died protecting me. I couldn't see the attack. It came from behind," Naruto said, turning to Kakashi, who placed a hand on his shoulder. Sakura collapsed onto her knees near Sasuke and placed her head on him, crying. The other genin looked on sadly. Suddenly, Sasuke spoke. "Sakura." Naruto turned quickly to Sasuke and Sakura sat up suddenly. "Sasuke-kun?" You're really heavy. That hurt. Naruto burst out laughing as the Sakura pouted while crying tears of joy. You're alive. Kakashi looked towards Haku's dead body. False death state. Looks like he never meant to kill you, Sasuke. We should give the two a proper burial. Then, let's rest up, finish the bridge, and head back to Konoha. Kurenai said, looking towards the dead body of Haku as well. The teams prepared to return to the village as the bridge was finally complete. The group prepared to return as the villagers said their final goodbyes to the ninja. Inari was trying desperately not to cry after apologizing to Sasuke for his words, who forgave him. It's okay to cry when you're happy, Naruto told him, laughing as the boy burst out in tears. Don't worry, I'm sure Sasuke team will miss you too. With those words, the ninja began their long walk back to the village. Tazuna turned to his fellow villagers. I have a name for the bridge. Tsunami looked at the man. What's that? Tazuna looked at the ninja. The Great Konoha Bridge. The villagers cheered at the name and Tazuna grinned. The walk back to the village was peaceful for the Konoha teams. For most of the trip, Kakashi read his little book. Sasuke played with his eyes, asking Kakashi questions occasionally and occasionally speaking to Naruto about what he was learning. Sakura kept watching Sasuke as she and Ino had some kind of conversation. Hinata was being carried by Kurenai after she fainted when she saw Naruto shirtless that morning. Kiba conversed with Akamaru for the entire trip while Naruto spoke with Shikamaru and Choji or interestedly watched as Sasuke learned more and more about his eyes. After returning to the village, the Jonin dismissed their students and moved to the Hokage's office to report their mission. After hearing the report, Sarutobi nodded and promised the team's pay for an A-rank mission given the difficulty of the mission, especially for a rookie team. After having them fill a small report, he dismissed them. However, Kakashi remained behind. Do you need something, Kakashi-kun? Yes, sir, Kakashi said, standing straight. On the bridge, there was a moment when Naruto lost control. He used some of the Kyuubi's chakra. I'm afraid that the seal may have loosened slightly. I felt it best to inform you. Sarutobi leaned back in his chair. Indeed, I also feel that it would be best for me to know anything regarding that seal. For it to loosen was always under our expectations given what the boy holds. I will have Jiraiya return to the village. I'm sure he would be more than happy to see Naruto again. Kakashi nodded. Thank you, Hokage-sama. With the dismissal, Kakashi left, already planning the training for the next day for each of his students.